So Brittany from Politically Provoked tweeted out, absolutely amazing to me seeing people who are seething at us and campaigning to get us deplatformed are in Mr. Girl's chat cheering him on after his debate with Vince James. Wow, he debated Vince James. Mr. Girl says 11-year-olds are hot. Democrats have lost their damn minds. We definitely talking about this tomorrow. So that's what she tweeted out. Okay. So I checked the quote tweet, and the quote tweet is also from Brittany, and it's a screenshot of her chat in Mr. Girl's chat where she says, "At Mr. Girl, what's worse, being a pedophile or being racist?" And Kelly moderator, also one of Destiny's moderators, said at Brittany, being racist 1000%. That's a choice, right? True. True. Obviously, having a mental illness is, so she said that, like, obviously being racist is a choice, being a pedophile is a mental illness. Like, there's a huge difference there. So obviously being racist is like something that's morally condemnable. Being a pedophile really isn't. Acting on that pedophilia obviously is. Acting on that pedophilia is when you become a child molester, not just a pedophile. So that's obvious, right? So I commented and I said, why would you dunk on yourself like this? Obviously, she asked a stupid question, got an obvious answer. Somebody's like, are you serious? Like, obviously it's worse to be racist, not to be a pedophile. Like, what? Obviously. So yeah, I'm like, why why would you dunk on yourself like this? Why would you screenshot this and post it on Twitter? She said, in what world is this a dunk on myself? I said, you compared people choosing to be racist to an immutable characteristic and got called out for it in the same pic. You can't, it's supposed to say, you can't call someone, or sorry, you can't say someone is immoral for having a mental disorder. This dude said, an immutable characteristic, I have 00 bucks. That begs to differ. I guess he's saying, like, it's not an immutable characteristic to be a pedophile because he can shoot them with his shotgun and now they won't be a pedophile anymore because they'll be dead. I said, can you show me some studies or academic papers that say this? Yeah. So 3 people retweeted this post right here. So there's a quote tweet from Norvin Hobbs. He said, racism, like every other personality trait, has a genetic basis. I said, I'm well aware. That's different, though. It's a predisposition. Or, sorry, a predisposition isn't the same as a mental disorder. Now, you can have a predisposition to a mental disorder. I was expecting to get into that if he responded at all, but he did not. So, yeah. And then the other one is Brittany, again, retweeting this, dunking on herself, said, get ready, folks. The P is coming. I'm assuming she's calling me a pedophile there. You can come talk about this on our pop on tonight if you want.
Tom, want to introduce yourself?
What's up? I'm Tom.
All right.
He'll be arguing pro pedophilia as his norm.
I love pedophilia.
So remember, Tom is streaming, so we will have to be somewhat, YouTube friendly.
Thank you.
But just keep that in mind. And Ankon, you want to introduce yourself?
Well, since we're streaming on YouTube, I will describe myself as a social nationalist that is on BitChute, Telegram, Gab, and Postin.
That was good, actually. Good, I like that. I do want to wait for Mio. Mio, where the hell are you, by the way? Get over here. You can let me DM him and get his ass over here. I want to wait for him because he's going to be taking the position that you're born racist.
I agree with that position, by the way.
Huh? Is that
I
yours
agree.
too?
Were those our opening statements,
that's
or do we
born
do other
racist.
opening
Yes.
statements? Should I lay out my like full position on this?
If you want to, sure. But I mean, I do kind of want to wait for I do want to
We
wait.
can wait for Mio.
Yeah, like we can. I just waited because we did start this like a little bit earlier than we were planning on.
I wasn't sure if introductions and opening statements were the same.
Yeah, no, that was just to tell people who you are. We can have intros and stuff and all that.
Oh, we're all
But,
organized tonight, eh?
Well, for now.
Oh, just FYI, guys. Again, if you put anything in the private chat, it will pop up on my stream. I can't help that. I can't.
Yeah, let's
it.
not do the private chat unless like it's like super important, and don't do anything bad in the private chat, basically. What the fuck, Todd? He's such a pain in the ass.
Well, I'm not the one who said like Tom Foolery said I love pedophilia. I just made a joke. Yet, the FBI would like to have a word with him.
I'm shocked that there are people that are going to be taking this position. Two of them. That's
It's the
Why would
objectively
you be
correct
shocked?
position. I mean, like, what am I supposed to say?
Okay, are we
all
doing
right,
this?
we might as well get into
Are we-
it. Yeah.
All right, how's it objectively correct? If the theory is that you can change a racist, but you can't change a pedophile, why wouldn't you want to platform the racist to try to change their view?
So this is my position. So at the very base level, it's not wrong to platform a racist or a pedophile because both of these things are characteristics of a person. But it could be argued that it would be wrong to platform certain ideologies that would lead to harm in the world, such as ethno-nationalism. And these are fundamentally different things than talking about characteristics of people. So if you want to go like the ultra pedantic racist versus pedophiles, I am going to say neither is wrong. But I think that it could be wrong to platform certain ideas.
So let me get this straight. You're scared of platforming ethno-nationalists, but you're not scared of a person molesting a child?
Well, so real quick,
So,
let's make a quick distinction.
Can I quick respond to that? And then you can go to-
I just want to define words real quick, and then I want to let you respond. Like normally the way that, especially in conversations like this where we have to separate things, we'll normally separate a pedophile from a child molester. These are two different things. Normally a pedophile is just somebody who's sexually attracted to prepubescent children, and a child molester is somebody who has acted on those things. So just
So I mean, those two things kind of go hand in hand.
Hold on. So this is essentially
those
what
two
I was
things
going
go
to say.
hand.
So really quickly, when I'm talking about characteristics, I'm talking about like racism or pedophilia, attraction to prepubescent features. That could be a characteristic of a person. But if you're advocating for an idea such as ethno-nationalism or advocating for like child rape or child molestation, I would say both of those things would be bad. That's where I'm drawing that separation.
And you don't think that there are just certain characteristics of people that are like naturally fucking disgusting and should be like shamed into oblivion?
I don't think that there's a lot of utility in doing that here.
What?
Yeah, if being a pedophile is a mental illness, like what's the point in shaming them? You can't get them to change that. So what is the utility in shaming them?
Because they want to harm children.
Wait, no.
I mean,
Hold
you
on.
wanna,
That's
like,
not
shame
that's
them.
not an
Exactly.
answer. Hold on.
this
Hold
guy-
on. That's not an answer.
I mean,
that wasn't an
because
answer.
we're referring to like the last 20,000 years of history. They would just get like spewed
That wasn't
down
an
their
answer.
throat
Wait,
to a
wait.
box.
Let's give me
I
a
don't know, I
break.
can't tell who's talking because there's so many people that are off camera.
I want to get an answer to my question. I asked, what is the utility in just saying, well, they're a pedophile? Again, that's not an answer to my question. What is the
Yeah, it's called
utility
you go into
in
a
shaming?
database and you know to avoid those people at all costs.
No, that's good. That's fine. Have databases. Keep them away from like schools and bus stops and stuff. Like hell yeah, that's fine.
What do you mean by it's not an answer? Because we're talking about two distinct people here. We're talking about one person who may divulge into literature or an ideology of racism, and one who may divulge into the practice of may by your definition, look into the practice of going into child pornography or wanting to harm a kid.
Right. Wait.
I think this is for yeah, this doesn't really engage with anything I said, but I'll let you respond to it.
It doesn't engage with anything. I'm not understanding even what the question is.
Well, it's your position that racists are worse than pedophiles.
Okay, so if we're talking about morally, I don't think that I can say a pedophile who's not choosing to be a pedophile, who can't help whether or not they're a pedophile. I don't know how I can
if they're not if they're choosing it or not,
because it's a mental
Is there,
disorder.
Like settled science.
Yeah, it's a mental disorder. So like, there's not much that like you can do. I don't know how we can say you are morally wrong for having a mental disorder that you can't help. Normally, morals are things that like you choose, right?
Tom, by your logic, then it's morally okay, or it's not morally wrong to be a serial killer because it's a mental disease.
Well, no, not a serial killer, but a psychopath. Yes, you would be correct.
Okay, so acted on it, but they fantasize about killing people.
So again, there's a difference between being a psychopath or acting on that. There's a difference between being
killing people.
Is it morally wrong to do? No, we've all fantasized about killing people.
Between characteristics which are applied after certain actions are taken versus characteristics which are applied to a person before any actions are taken. So like pedophile is a characteristic which is applied to somebody before any actions are taken. It just means attraction to prepubescent features. Whereas serial killer is a characteristic which is applied to somebody after actions are taken, namely murdering multiple people.
Right. So again, we're separating, like, if you're just because you're a pedophile doesn't mean you're a child molester. If you molest children, yes, that is morally wrong. That's horrible. It's probably worse than being a racist. Although being a racist, I don't know how you act on that unless you're going out and killing like black people, then maybe that's worse. I don't know how you act on being a racist, but it's not you're not wrong for being a psychopath. You are wrong for going out and killing people.
So same thing with racism then. Like, you're not wrong.
There are many racists and don't go act
again,
out
it's
in
the
extremism.
Yeah, it's the actions that come from.
Said, like, people holding the characteristic of being a racist, platforming somebody who holds that characteristic wouldn't necessarily be wrong, but it could be wrong to platform ideas which would lead to like mass killing or harm.
Like pedophilia.
No, not like pedophilia, because that's a characteristic that's applied before any action has been taken.
Are pedophiles identified before or after?
That logic could be applied to the extremists and racists as well.
Okay, so true. No, that's true. That's true. So let's say real quick. Let's say Destiny is.
Let Tom finish, and then Nat, you go. Go ahead, Tom.
Let's say Destiny is a racist. Okay, he's a horrible racist. He freaking hates black people, right? He's a freaking
definitions for what racism even means.
Okay, he hates black people, and he's a Nazi. Okay. He's got swastika tattoos all over him, right? Like, he actually wears a wig and has a shaved head. Okay,
get to it.
There's nothing wrong with that. Like, he's not actually espousing those beliefs. He's not convincing people of those beliefs. He's not doing anything wrong. His thoughts, his feelings are his own, and that's perfectly fine. He can do that all day, and as long as that doesn't turn into some sort of action in the world where it affects other people, then it doesn't matter. It's no big deal.
And this is fundamentally different than like advocating for kicking all non-white people out of a country or something, because there's actual harm that would come from an ideology like that.
Well, you're just assuming that's their position. Like you're throwing around this nebulous.
Well, right. I don't know if you might have.
You have absolutely no idea.
He didn't assume that.
Like what their position would even be.
You might have missed my opening statement.
Why do you guys both keep interrupting? Let Douglas finish this sentence and then go.
Jesus Christ, dude. Like, you're throwing out this vague term of like ethno-nationalist and saying it's like bad, not even like fully understanding or having like the knowledge of like what that even means to be an ethno-nationalist, or the fact that like there is no like monopoly on that ideology. Like alone is like an incredibly vague statement. Like, there's so many different opinions.
What is an
ways people go about
nobody knows
that kind of thinking and like what they have in mind. So like you're just automatically assuming shit. So
are you done?
I don't know. Again, I don't know like where you're drawing the basis.
All right, go ahead, Andrew.
Okay, so I don't.
The way I thought it was going to come in after Foolery.
Oh,
yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. Net 7 was supposed to go.
Oh, well, he was like responding directly to something I said.
All right, fine. Amder, then Net 7. Nobody talk after Amder, because Net 7 will be up.
Okay, so I don't know if you missed my opening statement. I drew a distinction between somebody having the like characteristic of racist. I said it wouldn't be wrong to just platform somebody that had the characteristic of racist, and I also wasn't assuming anything about what the term ethno-nationalism mean. That's why I specifically outlined like somebody who advocated for removal of non-white people from a country that ideology could cause harm. I didn't apply a label to it. I said somebody advocating for these actions could cause harm. I just think you weren't listening.
Okay, net
We
7.
specifically
that's your
said
cue to get in there.
ethno-nationalist, but okay.
Net.
You know, thank you. I appreciate that. This ridiculous nonsense that I'm hearing from the other side, people like Tom Foolery and Amdir, is that it's simply pedo apologetics. It's the idea that, well, that this is just the way they are and it can't be helped. No, it's a
I wonder at what point they're going to make
serious
an argument.
criminal offense.
I
It's
would
an
love to hear
absolutely
an
immoral,
argument.
disgusting, degenerate act. To suggest then that, well, we can then see that, well, maybe that it's essentially a way to say that, well, that this is just natural. It's a slow de-evolution to try and slip in the idea that, well, because therefore it's so allegedly genetic and therefore inerrant, then that it must not be so bad, and that we should accept it. No, we cannot cross that line whatsoever. We, as rational human beings, understand that the exploitation of children in a sexual manner is inherently wrong and it's evil. We understand that. So this
We've all agreed
nonsense
on
we're
that.
hearing from the side is just ridiculous.
No, we've all
you
agreed on
don't.
that.
You essentially you're trying to be apologetic for it by saying that, well, it's not their fault. It's in their head,
Bro,
and therefore we should sympathize with them.
No.
You want to
I
get
sympathize more with
robots
the
and
child
shit,
being
like
exploited.
kid
No.
robots,
Hold
though,
on.
too.
Hold on. So, okay, so you said it's wrong to exploit children, right? We all agree on this. What we said is having feelings is not wrong. Acting on those feelings is what's wrong. Being the state
having the
of
feeling
being
is
a
wrong, too.
pedophile isn't wrong. If you act on that pedophilia, if you become a child molester, that is horrible. That is horribly wrong. Okay? There is something super messed up. Okay? But
What if
when
they're
you
child porn?
Let me respond to Tom Foolery real quick.
hold on.
His
Can
claim
I-
that the feeling itself is
Can I get
not
into this?
wrong.
Wait,
No,
was
I don't
was
go
Tom
around.
finished talking though? Tom, are you done talking? All right, go ahead, Douglas, and then net 7.
Well, I just wanted Tom to. Can you like repeat that last part a little bit there? So did you say that you don't think that there's anything inherently wrong with being a pedophile, and that it's only if you act on it?
Yeah,
Oh,
I would say that
everything.
that's the same with it. We said the same with everything. So same
So
with
you don't think that there's anything like inherently wrong with like being attracted to minors? Like you don't think that's just something that should be like potentially controlled for?
Okay, we're really gonna have to, because you guys keep skipping over my. I've answered this a couple of times, and you're skipping over the arguments that I make, and then go back to it
I
again.
just wanted you to clarify that last little bit there.
So, well, I clarified this earlier. I said that I don't think that we can say there's something immoral about like something that you can't help. Now, if you want to say you can help your attractions and who you're attracted to, I would be happy to see like whatever it is that you have or where you learn that from or what I would like. Truly, I'm fine like looking at whatever you have that says that. But from what I understand, you cannot help who you're attracted to, and you can't help how you feel about things normally, but you can help how you react to those feelings, and that's what I'm talking about.
Aren't you using the same arguments that you have used for, you as a whole, the left has used for the past 2 or 3 decades to justify and legalize transsexuality and homosexuality? Aren't you using the same arguments?
Thank you.
Yeah, and I would like to add
peace
to that
coming, you
point
guys.
from Tom Foolery.
And wait, hold
And
on.
I want to add
Wait.
to that. I want to add to that real quick too, from Tom Foolery's point, that the thought itself is not evil. It's just the act. No, if you're thinking stuff like that, I would seriously question your moral standards. Okay, and I'm going to get a little Christian-y here because I'm the Bible itself even states that when you even think of having sexual relations with a woman who is not your wife, that lust is still a sin. It's not the same, but it's still bad. So this is so ridiculous what you're saying, Tom Foolery.
No,
Is attraction?
I'm gonna take the really hot spicy take and say that this fucking like Christian moral fagging is kind of the root of that problem, because it's clear like there is like what I'm seeing from like Amdir and Tom Foolery is like this very Abrahamic worldview of like virtue and sin, whereas in times of yore, right, in times of pre-Abrahamism, you would be more so viewing things based off of shame and guilt, regardless of whether certain things were inborn or not, or of their own volition. But yeah, that's just my fucking first spicy.
There was
Okay.
pedestry in pre-Abrahamic religions, by the way, just so you know.
There actually wasn't, but you know.
I literally have
There was.
4 arguments
Me-
directed
there
at me
wasn't.
now.
No, you
that,
can tell, but no, there wasn't.
God.
So I agree, like, lusting in and of itself is normally going to be wrong. I don't think that just having an attraction to somebody or, like, I like blondes, right? I don't necessarily lust after all blondes, but I am attracted to blondes. I don't know that I don't think that I can help the fact that I'm attracted to blondes. I don't know that I can do anything about that. But I am attracted to blondes in general. I don't like run around raping all blondes now because I'm attracted to them, right? That's not a thing. Just the same as a pedophile isn't just because they're attracted to children doesn't mean that they run around having sex with all children. Nobody acts like that. Nobody does that. Okay.
This is the weirdest
Would you
fucking
apply
comparison
that
ever.
same hold on? Would you apply to that same logic that somebody who wants to beat their wife or somebody who wants to kill a non-white? Would you apply that same logic?
What is the logic? Can you
The
outline that
logic
for
you
me?
just said,
Right.
Of which they can't help it, and it's a feeling that isn't a mental illness or that they can't help.
Yeah, if
What do
it's
you-
just a
somebody
feeling.
thinks
Hold
about
on.
hitting their
Hold on.
wife and
Hold on.
doesn't
Well,
kiss
hold
them.
on. Hold on. Yes, if it is
Well,
just
why
a
are you getting
feeling,
upset?
if it is just a feeling, because you keep ignoring what we're saying. If it is just a feeling and they don't act on that, then yes, of course, there's nothing wrong with it.
But so by your logic, so you're attracted to blonde. So it's safe to assume that one day you will probably be in a relationship with a blonde. No, you don't. You go out and you're not going to go rape a bunch of blondes, but you're probably like in relationships, you're probably going to seek out a blonde. So do you not see how this could be kind of flawed? Like if somebody has this attraction to children, maybe they're not going to like rape a child, but maybe they're going to eventually seek out a child.
I'm sorry.
Especially if the
Tom
norm.
believes
Yeah,
that
I
it's
already-
really
robots
wrong,
help
and that's,
this
like,
pedophile.
literally
I-
their
I'm-
genetic
I already
information.
replied
Directed
to this.
Tom, so let him go.
I don't know if you guys want to write down what it is I'm saying, because I feel like you guys keep just asking me the same questions that I've already replied to. I do think that it's a good thing to like say like maybe they shouldn't live so within so many miles of a school or around a school bus. I think that it's necessary to take those precautions. I think that that's a good thing. I don't want them having sex with children. Most children that are molested are actually molested by people who aren't pedophiles, but even still, this says that they have a predilection that makes them more likely to assault a child, and so it is something that I think that we should be wary of.
Get to the part where you give them the CP to help them. Remember, and the kid robots. Tom, get to that part too. Why don't you tell
So
everybody?
here's my
your
question.
old position.
Here's my
Why are
question
we
because
so far, why have we drugged the conversation so far off of the whole like racist versus pedophile thing? Like, I tried to draw out
Because
why what you're
pedophiles are
trying to
far
do
worse.
isn't actually comparable. Like because when you say racist versus pedophiles, really you mean pedophiles versus who you're platforming. Like that's the intent of what you're saying, right?
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that. So we're not
Can I-
actually just comparing people who have a characteristic versus people that have a characteristic. We're comparing people who have a characteristic versus people that are proponents of some ideology, and we haven't engaged with that at
All right,
all.
I have a question then. All right, so what do you think if somebody said to you, I think that 11-year-old is hot, or I think that black person is going to go steal a bike? Which is worse?
They're both statements that tell you about some characteristic of a person, but neither of them are prescriptive. Neither of them are telling you should do something.
All right.
so
Mio
saying
here,
somebody
he hasn't
is
said
attracted to an 11-year-old girl is not worse than somebody saying going.
Well, no,
to steal a bike. Are you serious?
what I'm saying is those things can be compared, but what you're trying to compare is something different.
So here's
Yeah, they're very different. One is abhorrently worse than the other.
so and here's
Yeah,
the
I
thing.
agree too. That the ethno-nationalism one, or people who propose creating an ethno-state, is significantly
racism isn't
worse.
illegal too. Pedophilia is. But...
Creating an
That's
ethno
not-
state is significantly
Pedophilia
worse
is
than
not
molesting a
illegal.
child.
Hold on, let's go back there a minute.
I think.
I guess most of the world has been a form
Wait,
of fucking evil
hold on,
because like
no,
most of the
let
world is an
Andrew-
ethno state.
Okay, because
So,
it's also really hard. Like, when there's a lot of people-
We don't have thought crimes in the United States. I don't know what country you're talking about, where like it can be illegal for you to think about things, but it's not the U.S.
Why? Okay, that's fine. There's no thought crimes, but why does it seem like YouTube and all these mainstream platforms are more okay with allowing somebody who is having those kind of thought crimes versus the other. Like if you say anything somewhat racist, you're going to be banned off. But this guy who's talking about 11-year-olds being hot, that's totally fine. He's like on Twitch where what's littered with fucking children, by the way. And all these mainstream platforms, we got fucking booted off of YouTube for some people that have been on for that were a little racist.
Do you think that all you did was like have people on that are a little bit racist?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
real quick to respond to
That's
the
what you think.
other
Right,
part,
go ahead, Tom.
they do ban people who say I want to have sex with underage people. They do ban you for that.
Well, he's not fucking an idiot. Nobody came on our show saying I'm gonna go fucking like kill a black person.
Well, no.
Like,
That was what you said though. Like,
no, we're
so
talking about.
I know. Just like saying an 11-year-old is hot is not the same as saying I'm gonna go have sex with that 11-year-old. So if they say
They're saying that like I don't.
No,
like black
it is.
people.
No.
It is
When
a
you
prerequisite
say,
to it.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking
it is a
weird.
prerequisite,
Like,
but
when
it's
you
not the
say-
same thing. Just the same as if I
No,
say
no,
I
no,
don't
no,
like
no,
black
that's not
people,
all.
it doesn't mean
Pretty
that
goddamn
you
fucked.
necessarily discriminate against them on a daily basis. They're still prerequisites, but I can't make that assumption.
I have
Why
a
can't you
question.
make that assumption? Because if you say, well, a blonde, attractive woman is hot, usually someone would think you would want to do something, or you would want to do something sexual with that blonde person. Well, you can think the same logic with a child.
Yeah, and tomfoolery. I never look at an 11-year-old and say, "Oh, they look hot." No, that's totally freaking disgusting, ridiculous.
Okay.
To suggest that
How is
somehow
that relevant?
somehow. No,
What-
it's exactly
what
relevant to your.
argument?
Are you
argument.
gonna
don't
make
look
an
at children
argument this entire
and
time you're
say
here,
that
bro?
They're hot, okay?
Make
You look at a kid and say, "Oh, they're so cute. Oh, you're so sweet." You don't look at a kid and say, "Oh, they're hot," okay? And somehow that's acceptable.
Are you ever
Okay,
gonna
so
make an
you're
argument?
virtue
You're just here to
signaling right
virtue
now.
No, that
signal.
is the
Yes,
argument,
it
because
is
what you're
just
trying to
virtue
suggest is
signaling.
It's not
That
the
is the argument.
same.
Okay, I
as
actually agree
somehow-
with Tom here. There is a lot of like virtue signaling and pearl clutching going on here when we could be like easily making arguments right now. Like,
Yeah, the argument is
if,
that you're
if you
fucking
know
literally
you're right,
trying to
you don't
confirm.
just have to like go up and tell them you're right over and over again. You can just explain why, and that's how you win the argument.
Why
So-
why should one have to explain calling an 11-year-old hot is creepingly disgusting?
Well,
Because
that's
how
like
people don't
literally
If you have
the
to
point
explain,
of
if
this
you have to
discussion.
explain that,
That's
then
why you're
something's wrong
on the
with your
panel,
logic,
dude.
buddy.
That's what
that
you're
is
here for.
literally the point of this discussion. So, like, if you don't see the point in this discussion, then you shouldn't be a part of it.
What, are you triggered then because you can't think beyond your head, buddy?
Am
You're
I
you're the one,
triggered?
Oh my god.
bro. You are the one who's having
Yeah.
trouble explaining your points. Okay, you're
Yeah,
here to
I
argue.
agree.
Leo, let me tell you how to
No,
own
I
the
think it's
list
very
up.
clear. I don't think that my point's pretty clear. I would rather
More
platform a
virtue
person
signaling.
who calls himself an ethno-nationalist for the purpose of de-radicalizing them and trying to convince them that their views are wrong, because there is a trend when you engage with certain people, not all of them, because again, some of these people will to their dying day accept their beliefs and will not change. We have seen many former, racists or ethno-nationalists or whatever you want to call the person over time see, my views are wrong, de-radicalize, and actually, become full integrated members of society. That is not the same with pedophiles. Pedophiles historically continue to exploit children, even when they go to prison for it and they go to jail and they get registered sex offenders. The vast majority of them reoffend. This shouldn't even be up for discussion.
Man's got a point.
I'm pretty sure half of what he just said is just blatantly incorrect. Like, I'm pretty sure
It's up for discussion.
I can tell you the first
Prove it,
thing
Tom.
that's
Prove
incorrect there is that he's saying that most people that offend reoffend. Sure, but most people don't offend in the first place. So it's a little bit of like a strange point to make.
But how do you even wait? How are they even identified as pedophiles then?
Wait, so most
Exactly.
pedophiles don't offend? What's your facts for that?
Well, you can do anonymous
Yeah, we
polling,
find out they're pedophiles.
but
Oh, anonymous polls, right? Oh yeah, someone's gonna say, "Oh yeah, I'm a pedophile. I'm just not going off sexually assaulting children." Give me a
well,
break.
that's why it would be
Yeah, bro,
anonymous.
US
You probably
Census,
wouldn't want to
right?
say that in like a poll where people got your name or address or whatever. But
well, also most
I wonder why.
sex offenders or most people who are child molesters are not pedophiles. So that's the other part. That's
Wait, what? Did you say most child
Well, I mean,
molesters
they kinda
are
are.
not pedophiles? Is that what just happened?
What?
All right, you're gonna have to explain that one. Go ahead, Tom. You have
So-
the floor to explain that.
Yeah, so most studies show that the reason that most children
Hold on, let him finish. No, let him finish. I want to hear this.
studies
ahead,
show
Tom.
that the reason most children are actually sexually assaulted is because of like a power problem that they have, where it's actually like about them wanting to dominate somebody but not being able to have sex with other people in their real life, so they find the most vulnerable people. Sometimes that's children, sometimes it's just women who are drunk, it's all sorts of people, and so most of the time the most vulnerable people in the world are children, and so they aren't necessarily attracted to them, but those are the people that they can dominate and that they can use their power over. And so most people who molest children are not pedophiles.
Are we talking about
you
wait, hold on, are we talking about like prepubescent children, or are we talking about like 16, 17-year-old type children?
Prepubescent children.
Where the fuck did you find this whole like thing? I mean, I gotta see whatever the hell that is.
Yeah, I can.
You didn't
I
even
can pull
answer
it
the
up.
question.
He just
You
pulled-
didn't even answer the
Tom
question.
Foolery pulled that out of the air or from Nambla.com. He didn't pull it out of any real facts.
I mean,
You
I
didn't even
could-
answer the
Are you
question.
gonna take that
didn't even
back?
say-
Are you gonna take
I
that
could-
back when I send it to you?
I can see.
I didn't think so. I didn't think so.
Tom could be right here that the majority of sex crimes against children are not committed by people who would generally say that they're attracted to children explicitly. I think we should stop the sex crimes against children that happen for that reason, and the sex crimes that happen against children because of pedophilia. Both. It's both bad.
I mean,
I
okay,
don't think anybody here is going to disagree we should stop sex crimes.
Don't you?
I don't
think
know.
that-
Tom probably will.
Don't you think that maybe
Hey,
like,
I'm out. I'll be back in a little bit, guys.
Alright.
Hey, have a good night. Bye.
don't you think that maybe some of these people are like not being completely honest about maybe their attractions or whatever, after like nobody wants to sit there and like cop out to being a pedophile like after the case or whatever. So I don't know if like those kind of like the studies and all the shit, like the information we have on it is like all that accurate, because
Fair
you're
point.
trusting the word of a pedophile basically.
If I may
Yeah, and
address,
I'd like to-
yeah, if I can go first.
Yeah,
Tom
what's that
Foolery didn't
noise?
even answer the question.
What's the noise?
Wait,
Might be me talking.
That's not me.
what? The question was from Brittany. I specifically addressed her question.
No, you did not. You explained how and why a pedophile might predatorize after a child. You didn't explain how he's not a child predator, or how there's a distinction between the two.
Oh
You
my
didn't
goodness!
explain that at
No,
all.
no, no! I didn't. No, not child predator. Okay, again, I'll say this for the 5th time. Okay, please write this down. I frickin' swear, dude. Okay, a child molester is somebody who sexually abuses a child. A pedophile is somebody who has a sexual attraction to a prepubescent child. Okay, these are two different
They're
things.
the same thing.
No, they're not. No, they're
I
not.
feel like they just
They're the
can't
same
wrap
No,
thing.
their
they are
They've been
not. We've
recognized
explained
as the
this
same
over and
thing
over.
for hundreds of years. They
No,
are the same thing.
Okay, go look it
No.
up and find it. Okay, I
I
promise
don't
you
need to
they
go
are
to Google
different.
to look it up. They've
Because
been
you don't have a
recognized as the
clue
same
what you're
thing.
talking about, bro. You have absolutely no clue what you're
It's
here
been
to talk
recognized
about.
for hundreds of years.
It has not. You
More
just
than
haven't
that.
known anything
It
for
has been.
hundreds of years, okay? You haven't known
Well,
this
hold on.
your
This-
entire
this-
life, okay? I promise
This,
you, they're
this
different.
whole like pedantic thing is like dodging the entire argument anyways, and we don't even need to do it. If it makes you happy, like you could just make up another word and call that people attracted to prepubescent features, and that doesn't affect our argument at all. So it's kind of just distracting from the entire thing to try to do this little pedantic game.
Yeah, y'all got me agreeing with them on this one. Once again, it's like you can move the discussion forward. Like, okay, sure, call the attraction to children something different than like raping kids. Like, sure, let's use 2 different words for those things, whatever, and let's like actually have that discussion instead of just blocking it, clutching our pearls, and saying like, oh, how dare you say that like the whole time for 2 hours? That's not going to get anywhere. So, look, here's the thing, Tom. If you're walking down the street, right, and you see a pretty girl, and the thought pops into your head, just like, I really want to rape that girl.
Mhm.
Would you think to yourself, like, whoa, that was wrong. I shouldn't have thought that,
Yeah.
right? It's wrong to have that thought. Like, morally, you wish it wouldn't have happened.
I understand what
okay,
you're saying, but
okay, so you see where I'm going with
not
this.
necessary. I don't know that I agree with you.
Yeah, I would disagree
okay.
because I would consider that an intrusive thought. I don't think those are wrong.
Yeah, like I've watched like rape porn before, right? Like I think that like that by itself.
And you think it's
Wait,
morally
I'm
like
sorry.
walking
Say
down
that
the
again.
street?
Say that
If you
again,
want,
It's starting to
please.
make sense,
if you want
actually.
to like say that like porn is immoral, then that's fine. But it's not the rape part of the porn that would be immoral, right?
Well, no, I mean, I think that there's like different levels of degenerate attractions that, like, you know, you go on porn sites and like shit gets really, really weird, and I would say bad fast, and it's like it's disgusting, and some of it's more disgusting than others. It's all porn, but like some of it's definitely worse, and anybody knows that.
Mio, I have a question for you. If you're like with your consenting partner and you do rape play with them, is that wrong?
That's like the consensual non-consent whatever
Yeah,
kinky. I don't think that's nearly the same as like playing fake pretend with your partner, your girl,
Well,
whatever. Is
But it
is
does
not
mean
the
you want
same
to
as,
rape
like,
them, right?
The reason I'm bringing
hiring
this up, the
you
reason I'm bringing this
go
up
out
is
and like
because
violently rape some girl.
well,
Like, no, I don't
yeah.
think it's that the same thing at all.
Well, I agree with you. This is my point. So you're having that attraction to that rape aspect of it, but you're channeling it in a way to which there's no actual harm.
I mean,
The thought is still there. The thought and the action are different things.
I mean, I just don't think that like two people that are consenting,
So
playing pretend
there's this.
is the same as having the thought of like wanting to violently rape some girl against her will. Like, I just don't think that that's like people get kinky in bed, whatever, and like, you know, that's its own thing. Some of that gets real degenerate too. I'm not like, you know, condoning all as far as all of that goes, but it's still like not the same as having a thought of like a girl on the street, like, you know, intrusive thought, whatever. I want to rape her.
I
Yeah,
put
would say
a real quick. I
I
put a
think-
link in the chat for everybody. It does go over like a lot of the words that we're using here, and then in like the ways that we use
Did you want
them.
me to pull
and
this
then-
up?
No, you don't need to pull it up. I'm just putting it there for everybody if they want to like a key for the future or for the rest of this conversation. It does
And-
have some statistics in it.
Yeah. So I just want to say, like, I don't think thought is as accurate as something we can go with as attraction. So like in rape play, you have an attraction to the idea of like non-consent, but you're not actually doing the act of raping somebody and causing harm. Just having that attraction to that idea isn't the wrong part, because there's some way in which you can go and channel that without causing any harm. But if you were to actually go and rape somebody, that would be wrong. We can draw a distinction there.
Yeah, I think wanting to do things that are bad is wrong, and I think
So
it's pretty
consensual
clear. Like,
non-consent is
everybody's
wrong. Why do
known
you
this
say
for a
it?
long time. Jesus said that. Tom should know. You know, wanting to do things that are bad is wrong. We call those thoughts
Okay.
sinful, and we try and stray away from. We try and, you know, avoid that stuff because we know
Okay.
that it's wrong and it's bad. And
All right.
you know, just like that's what these people. That's why these guys are so upset by you people, like, you know, apologizing for it, is because
Yeah.
it's normalizing things that everyone knows should be ostracized in society. It's way worse than anything else. Like, wanting to prey on children is so much worse than like thinking like, you know, somebody's dumb because they're black or something like that. Like
Uh-huh.
it's not even close. And so like
Okay.
that brings us back full circle to the main
Right.
topic, like which one's
Mhm.
worse. It's obviously worse. This one has been ostracized in all of human
I-
history,
Let me-
like across everywhere.
So I just want to clarify, Mio, you are walking back your statement that consensual non-consent is okay. You are saying it's wrong.
I don't think it's the same at all. I mean, yeah, I don't think it's like, you know,
This is such a pivot from you, Amdir. You know, this
This is not a
ridiculousness.
pivot.
It's like saying, "Oh well, you know, don't look at, you know, this murder crime at the scene in front of us. Let's look at that car crash down the street." This is totally ridiculous. Look, if you consistently, as a person, think these thoughts, okay, that I see a child and I want to sexually abuse them. Okay, let's call it what it is. Let's not call it sex with a child. Let's call it sexual abuse, because that's what it is. When you think those thoughts and you think them over and over again, do you not think that there is the faintest chance that those people eventually, with those thoughts, who don't get help and don't get psychological therapy, who continue to foster those thoughts in their brain, are eventually going to act on it? In fact, the average rapist, okay, is around the age of 31 years old. Okay, maybe they didn't start off that way, but over time these thoughts go on, they continue to think it, and they don't seek help, they don't get help, they decide, and eventually they act on it.
What about castrating people that
I would love to address all the points you made, but none of it engages with like anything that I said when I was talking to Mio.
I want to say this again. There's
that's essentially not an argument. That's not an argument, Amdir. Saying, "Oh, well, you didn't address it." No, I did address it. You just don't want to counter the facts that you have.
I said I would love to address what you said, but I don't want to derail the conversation because we're not interacting with anything that I had said in my exchange with Mio. We're just saying like random other things that have nothing to do with it.
You don't want to derail the conversation. We're supposed to be having a conversation on whether platforming pedophiles and platforming ethno-nationalists is better, and you start talking about bondage sex.
But you didn't respond to anything that he said, so now you're upset that he didn't respond to anything that you said. But he talked first. You should have been responding to him.
Don't try to deflect, Tom. Okay,
it's not a deflection. It's literally your argument.
Tom the fool.
We're gonna Tom and Mio.
Got me.
Tom, good.
Okay, so again, if I'm a kid and I want a toy, okay, there should not be like this assumption that I'm going to go steal that toy. Now, it's the same if I'm attracted to a woman. Shouldn't be assumed that I'm going to go rape that woman. Same with pedophiles. Lots of them have an attraction to children, but they don't want to have sex with them. They actually know that this is like violating their consent, that children can't consent. They understand this, and they do not want to do that to a child. Lots of them fail at this, and they should be put away for a very, very long time. Or we could also make it to where they're not like as afraid. We don't have people on the internet talking about like lining them up and shooting them. We don't have people talking about how like literally them just having thoughts that they can't help is horribly immoral and they're all animals. We can make it to where they're more likely to come forward about these predilections, to where we know that they exist and we're able to take precautions against them now. We're hopefully able to get them help because we actually know that they exist, and we don't have to wait for them to go assault a child before we find out that they are a pedophile, and then afterwards do all of the things that we should have done ahead of time.
And I see you have a point that it's important to make the distinction for that reason, so that they feel like, the 1 in 100 pedophiles that comes forward because of Tom's master plan, that's like, children saved. I get it. That's cool. I think that's like not so much what people are concerned with. If you wanted to create some program that's like, people that are like feeling an attraction to something which is going to lead to something horrible, they should get help, and they shouldn't be attacked for coming out as that, so that they feel more, so they're more likely to come forward in the first place, and that's children saved, which is a win, right? I get your point in all of that. It's sort of a long, twisted road to get to saving kids.
Well, again, we have lots of pedophiles who say
your heart in all of this is coming from.
Yeah, we have lots of pedophiles who say they are attracted to children, but they've never assaulted a child. And with the stats that we have, we can know that like there's too many of
assault a child. That makes you a pedophile.
No, it makes you
a child molester. We've been over this.
It makes you a pedophile who has now become a child molester. But okay, so look, moving forward. Let's just this whole like what pedophiles versus child molesters, is thought crime illegal? That's all sort of like beside the point. because the point is like, which is worse, racists or pedophiles, right? Which is worse for society at large? Which is worse to have around? Which is a greater danger? And that's what I think we should turn towards.
Yeah,
Can I-
and
so
we
can I answer
we
that?
like kind of our earlier arguments, just to rephrase them so that we can't get back to this, is like Amdir,
Yeah.
and I were just saying, like, it's going to depend on the action and how you act upon these things. So somebody who's a racist, if they go out and murder a black person because they don't like black people, well, that's one thing. Like, but just the act of, or just the state of being a racist, or the state of being a pedophile in and of themselves is normally just nothing.
Okay,
We don't care.
so to make it more to the point, which is worse, going on YouTube and saying, I think that blacks are stupid, or going on YouTube and saying, I think that 6-year-olds are hot?
Wait.
I don't think that either of them are like.
Well, Tom already did that, so it just shows you how much of a moral degenerate he is.
I already did what?
I
already-
don't think they were talking about
already-
you.
You already said that it's okay, that it's not so bad for a person to say to 11-year-old that's hot. It's not the same thing. Come on.
Wait,
Uh,
what?
Can I-
No, I didn't.
I want to
This guy
I
is
think-
too dumb
And
to be on this panel,
we need to
guys.
get back
He
to the
really
real
is
debate here,
too-
which is
We
which
just
is
got back
obviously-
to it. You
is
just
is it
derailed it
time-
again. We just got back to it.
Yeah, and
No,
I
we
do want
didn't.
to
You were distracting.
I
No, we
do wanna
didn't.
make
You were distracting.
Let's hear Justin.
Yeah, so one key difference that I think is important to kind of note is that, so when you're talking about platforming an ethno-nationalist versus a pedophile, like in terms of debate, right? The pedophile is almost always they're advocating for harming children, where an ethno-nationalist isn't necessarily advocating for harming anybody. They might just have an in-group preference, and they might believe in free association.
Okay, so for like the 7th time, I'm just gonna like kind of restate my opening statement, but like a little bit faster. So you could have like a characteristic of being a racist, a characteristic of being a pedophile. Like neither of those are
But
like
we're
the
talking about
platform
in terms of like
on
how
their own. But what you advocate for, that's no, Justin, I'm expounding on what you're saying. So like what you advocate for, that's different. So like if you have a pedophile who's who's advocating for harming kids or molesting kids, or you have an ethno-nationalist who like advocates for like shipping black people off to another continent or something, like both of these are going to be bad. But if you just have somebody who has the state of being a pedophile, and on the other hand, you have somebody who is advocating for some ideology which causes harm, I think this is more accurate to what we're comparing. Because I don't think there's been
Well,
anybody
no,
on
it's
platform
not, because
that's
remember, the
advocating
point
for
of the
child molestation
discussion.
not getting banned.
No, because the point of the discussion was, as stated earlier, is that people are getting removed from YouTube for saying racist things. People are not getting removed from YouTube for saying things about being attracted to children.
But
So
if they're talking about having
it's not
sex
just
with
like
children,
the
they do
state,
get removed.
the abstract state of pedophilia in Plato's world of forms or something like that. No, we're talking about like people advocating for each thing and saying that it's okay. So like, which is worse is the real question.
I think that when we
World
get
of
into
forms
this
or
kind of
something
thing,
like that.
we can be a little bit more specific. So when we get here, it's like a lot of times people can do this thing where they'll make all these descriptive statements that lead up to some prescription and never make the prescription. So like an example of this would be like, you know, blacks have a lower IQ, they are usually poor, they usually have a higher crime rate, you know, the country might be better off if it was just white people, but we never say, you know, ship them off. And something I think we could compare to that would be like if there was a pedophile who was like 11-year-olds are hot, you know, they're really sexy when they wear lingerie, and you know,
Mr. Ross said that though, and he's allowed
there's a
on
lot of
every
schools that
platform,
don't
we're
have
not.
security. It's like, okay, now you're something that's comparable to what you're comparing it to, because we have a lot of these descriptive statements getting up to the prescriptive statement, like let's go rape some kids, but we never get there. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I understand exactly what you're saying, and as Brittany said, that's like basically what this Mr. Girl guy said on YouTube, and he's still on YouTube, whereas
And on
politically provoked is banned. He's on
Hey,
Twitch.
Actually,
I don't think. I don't think he
speaking,
made
hang on
descriptive
one second.
statements
Shut the
up
fuck
to
up.
that.
One second. Brittany, my chat was wondering where you're streaming this.
Odyssey and D Live.
Okay, Odyssey under politically provoked.
Yeah, here I'll drop it in your chat.
Okay. Well, there you go, chat.
Yeah,
if
I'm
you wanna go
looking
watch
for it
over
right
there,
now
feel free.
too.
What a guy. We love Dalton.
Somebody
Thanks,
keeps
Mia. We love you
posting
too.
links, and I
There you go,
don't
Chad.
know what
Yeah,
these
I'm
links
watching
are.
for it.
Well, don't open them because they could be dangerous.
Dear, is that how you say your name?
Sure.
Well, how do you say it?
Amdir.
Amdir? Okay. What do you you're saying that what pedophiles should be allowed to have a platform on YouTube over, let's say, the most extreme, I don't even know what, somebody advocating for like genocide.
Yes, I am saying that. Anything else?
He's saying a lot more than that too.
Well, it depends on what the pedophile is advocating for. Is like
Right.
what,
Well, I'm just assuming that this person has the state of being a pedophile. Then yeah, I think that they have more of a right to be on YouTube than somebody advocating for genocide.
Yeah.
No, I completely disagree. An opinion about like a political opinion about like if you don't think a certain group of people have the right to exist, that doesn't really, because what are they gonna do? They're gonna all right. So let's run this through. The pedophile on YouTube is probably gonna go touch a kid, right?
No.
That's very
No.
likely.
I've
If someone on
already
YouTube
disagreed
says
with
they
you,
like to
Tom.
touch kids, right, and they're on
No.
YouTube,
No.
they probably touch kids.
No.
All right. The person advocating for genocide, what's he going to do? Rent a Greyhound bus and be like, yeah, I'm going to get this Greyhound bus. And think about the logistics, guy.
Everything you said
how
was
does that
wrong.
play out?
Do I need to go over my opening
I
statement? for the
seriously,
next
we
one?
have to keep
Yeah, we
repeating the
heard
same
you, but
things. They're not
You
arguing
keep
against
relying
what
on
we're
your
saying.
opening statement. We don't care about
Well,
it.
that's
Yes,
because
because you're not arguing against us. Argue against something we've said at some point, any point. Mio has. You guys give it a shot. Like it would be
Well,
awesome.
Dalton got here a little bit late, so if you guys want to like kind of catch him up to the weird thing.
Tomfoolery, you can do it. I'm tired of repeating the same thing.
please.
Yeah,
Tom,
sure.
Tom,
Yeah,
wait,
no, that's
it's-
fair. That's fair.
Tom
Okay.
Tom the
No,
Fool
let
and
Tom
Amdir
go,
have had
let
no
Tom go. Hold
offense.
on, let Tom go.
And Dalton, I did also put it in the private chat, like with the kind of like a
All right,
key.
just get to it.
There's a difference between being a pedophile and being a child molester. One is just the state of being attracted to prepubescent children. That's a pedophile. A child molester is somebody who actually touches children. A child molester is somebody who actually touches children. Most
You had a
pedophiles.
Freudian slip there, bro.
Did I?
Yeah. you
Yeah,
did.
it's so pathetic.
Did I get
so
mixed up?
Hold
on.
the fool's way of
Hold
trying
on.
to slip
Let
in.
him keep
Hold on a
going.
little,
I
buddy.
Yeah, let Tom finish.
Okay.
I want
So, yeah.
him to say
So-
this.
So
Out loud.
Pedophile is somebody who's attracted to prepubescent children. A child molester is somebody who actually touches children. Okay. Most pedophiles don't actually assault children, and most children who are assaulted are not assaulted by pedophiles. Now, what our original arguments was because it is like a medical problem. It's just the state of being a pedophile isn't immoral, but if they actually went and acted on those urges and did actually did touch a child or something like that, then that's when we would get into something that is immoral. Just the same as with a racist, we wouldn't say that the state of not liking a black person is immoral, but it would be the state of actually discriminating against somebody or acting on that racism is what would be immoral.
Nah, bro.
Okay, so everything Tom the Fool just said
So-
is just
Hold on, wait. I want to let
totally
Dalton get in there
wrong.
because he
On
just
so
got
many
here. So
levels.
let him have a minute.
Yeah, dude, I don't know how you could I don't know how you can sit here and say that thinking that 10-year-olds are cute is immoral
That's not what I said.
or moral. Just
I didn't say
thinking
that.
that they're cute, not touching them.
Okay. Yeah.
That's moral to you? That's okay?
I mean, if you would
When
like to
you-
hold on.
Genetically,
If you
it's
would
just
like
Well,
to
no, answer the question. No, it's a very simple question. Is thinking 10-year-olds cute? Okay.
Neutral.
So I would say that it's perfectly fine. If you would like to explain to me the problem with it, because nobody else has been able to do so. So
let
you'll
me-
be
I'll
the
explain
first
you the
one.
problem. It's just that you're fucking. That's literally like a genetic defunct, like a genetic fucking.
Right.
Yeah,
Wow,
you're
it's
mentally
Yeah,
ill.
sure.
You're
right there.
disgusting.
Yeah.
Right,
You're
it's
a
a-
gross
those
human
people
being.
should probably
and you
not
don't
be
Yeah,
allowed
he's
to
right,
reproduce,
it's a genetic
Like, they should
problem.
probably just be like,
Exactly.
tossed into a fucking bog, right? Like, that's
And you
the
don't
answer.
deserve to live.
Well, right.
Yes,
so
correct.
Racism is not a
Whoa.
mental disorder.
so you
Pedophilia
guys
is.
like actually don't care about protecting kids. You just want a virtue
Ethnocentrism.
signal.
No,
Go
I
ahead.
definitely care about
No,
protecting
virtue
kids. That's
signal,
why
go
I
ahead.
think people who
You
think
don't
that
care.
kids
You
are
don't care about kids. You're
hot.
the one that said it's no big deal to call an 11-year-old hot. Seriously.
Do you think that so I wouldn't want to normalize that
Do you
sort of
think it would
language.
just end there?
I didn't say that there's nothing wrong with that. I never said that. But I don't think that like we should normalize that language whatsoever, especially not on public platforms or anything like that. I did differentiate the fact that calling somebody hot or saying you should have sex with an 11-year-old, that those two things one would get you banned and the other one wouldn't, but I didn't say one was okay and the other one wasn't.
Well,
Okay,
people are
you
like
simply
to
you
think
already
that
said
one makes
that
the
the
other.
thought of exploiting children isn't bad. It's only bad if you act on it. No.
Correct.
Even the thought itself is bad.
Why?
And that is totally ridiculous.
Why?
I don't think that
No, why? For once, like
Because
actually
thoughts
make an
lead to
argument.
action.
because
thoughts lead to action.
because oh my god, how can you say why?
Just answer the freaking
Why?
question,
oh my
dude.
God.
Answer make an
Tom the
argument.
Fool,
My
if
goodness.
you can't get through your head that the thought of looking at a child
You're not going to make an
and then
argument.
thinking
Okay.
to yourself,
No, you're not
you
going
know
to make
what,
an
I
argument.
want to touch
It's
them
okay.
in
Just say
such
you
a
don't know, dude.
disgustingly sexually
Just say
inappropriate
I don't
way
know.
is not inherently by itself bad.
Just say
Give
I
me
don't
a
know.
freaking
Okay.
break.
You
You've
don't
got some
know.
problems, Tom.
Here
the
it
Fool.
is. Here it is, Tom. The difference is, I think, the like ethical paradigm we're looking through. You're looking at it from a utilitarian point of view.
Yeah,
right?
normally if I'm going to have
harm
a
done,
conversation
right?
on
The
a panel.
consequences.
Yeah.
Yeah, the consequences. So for us, we're coming from like a way more deontological point of view, like duty ethics. You're familiar with some of that?
Yeah.
It's yeah. So like it's more about like if nothing else in the world was real except your consciousness, like it's your choices, your actions, your thoughts that are like what defines morality, not like the consequences in this world. And that's how I view that sort of thing. It's not necessarily like what are the consequences, it's about the choices that you make, and that's all that you're given jurisdiction over. So like, you know, in that way I would say that yeah, those thoughts are wrong. Like, you know, thinking that you like want to kill somebody is wrong, you know. Like Jesus said that even like thinking you're like calling your brother a fool is committing murder in your own heart. He's saying that's wrong. So it's, you know.
There's
Tom,
nothing wrong with
is this
being
like
a
a
fool,
big
bro.
cope? Is this a big cope? You think 11-year-olds are hot?
Just stop virtue signaling. Let's
Seriously,
like talk to
dude.
people that can actually argue.
No. It's a real.
No, that's not a real question. Stop.
Well,
You talk about virtue signaling, but you're the one sitting here with your leftist ideology trying to covertly and subversively legalize and mainstreamize pedophilia.
You caught
So I don't want to hear it.
I'm not a
caught me.
leftist.
Yeah, right
Would
there,
you
hit
be
it,
okay
hit
with
it right on the
being
nail.
added to the LGBTQ part? How about that? If you're using the same argument
No,
for the LGBTQ,
I don't
stuff,
think so,
It's
no.
different, Brittany. The reason I'm not okay with that is just because I think that like optically it's going to be really bad for the LGBTQ community.
Oh, just
But you're
opposite.
using a
Of
lot of
course
the
it
same
would.
arguments that the LGBTQ community use.
They're saying it is the same, it's just bad optics.
Yeah, it is a
Yeah, bro.
sexual
Yeah, it normally be
attraction,
okay, but, you
but
know, give
it
another 10
wouldn't.
years or so, Mio.
No,
It's-
it's child abuse.
So okay, so what some of them are like sexual attractions that like have been normalized and are like accepted and legal. This is a sexual attraction that we don't want people to act upon. So we don't want it normalized. We don't want people to act upon those.
but how do you not see that utilizing this language is not normalizing it in the first place?
Well,
Yeah.
what if you'd like to
Saying that
explain
these
that?
people are just decent people who don't act on it is already it's like you see the Overton window shifting, right? In this line of thinking. Now people are saying, okay, well, as long as they don't act on it, that's okay. When 10 years ago, your idea would be, you know, career ending.
Well,
That's
this is the problem with,
disgusting.
this is the problem with your worldview, Dalton.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
So-
tell me my problem with my worldview.
Yes,
Yeah, I
let's hear
will.
the
No, I'm
pedophile's
happy
problem
to.
on our worldview. I'm
Yeah,
open to
and this
hear
is
it, please.
Can I-
let me just can I say something and just to back to the debate here? You know what he just said is just right. You know, 10 years ago, this sort of like disgusting nonsense would have been unacceptable. You know, in 20 years, you'd probably be having the FBI knocking on your
pivotal.
door. The problem is that what the left has done is it's rationalizing this child abuse and saying that, well, pedophilia is normal in the sense that, oh, it's genetic and they can't help themselves. And they're slipping, but they're quietly slipping in the idea that because it's inerrant, therefore we should learn to accept it. And then, you know what, start to say it's not that bad. No, it's not the same as platforming people who have ethno-nationalist views. Okay, we've been doing that for decades, and guess what? It hasn't. Not all the ethno-nationalists who we've tried to talk to and debate with have changed their minds. You know, some of them have taken it to the grave. You know, I doubt that a person like Jared Taylor, for example, is going to change his views in his especially in his old age. But there are many people who are ethno-nationalists who, after getting their views criticized and debated and talked about, start to re-examine their views and say, you know what, I'm wrong. My views have been wrong, and so that's the difference.
I want to hear Amdir.
like to add to that.
Can I have like 25 seconds uninterrupted? So I'm just going to respond to Dalton because I don't really care what NFT said. It all sounded dumb. So what Dalton was saying was that we're going to cause it to be more normalized by acknowledging the fact that it could be something that's just unchangeable, part of a person. I'm going to say instead that if you create a culture where you can't acknowledge that that could be the truth of the matter, and instead you say, well, these people just need to be demonized, they need to be killed, we can't talk about it, you're going to have a culture where if a politician or a scientist or a researcher says, like, we should study ways where we can, if there's therapies, we can get people out of this, cause less child rape, you're going to cause an environment where that's never going to happen. We're never actually going to improve the situation because you're not even willing to acknowledge the situation in the first place. You just want to ignore it. And
There's
what, the
ways
situation?
to improve the situation
Hang on.
without giving them special
Here,
treatment.
let
There's ways
Dalton
to improve it.
The situation.
You know, pedophiles should be demonized.
Can Dalton respond?
The situation in what that we think that they're mentally ill, and that I think that people. I mean, look, if a pedophile's not acting on it, and he's not a child molester, then there's really no way. Like, what can we do?
How do we know, though, too?
Well,
yeah, exactly. Like, how do we know? But here's the other thing, right? If they act on it, can you agree that they should be, given the death penalty?
Well, the death penalty is like another conversation, but I can agree.
Life in prison without parole.
Yeah, their crime.
Life in prison.
I'm
without
with
parole?
you, Dalton. Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. Let's say, all right. So then we go back to the fact that you're talking about having them being able to talk about, what their sexuality or whatever the fuck you think it is, their mental illness on YouTube. They should be comfortable doing that. If they are advocating for it, is that okay?
If they're advocating for child rape, absolutely not. And
if they're advocating for pedophilia.
What do you mean advocating for pedophilia?
All right, let's
advocating for a mental illness?
And normalizing it, though, too.
They're normalizing it. They're like, look, I'm just like you guys. I'm attracted to kids. It's okay if you're a pedophile. You can do whatever you want. I get it. Like, we're all in this together. That bullshit.
So,
is that okay?
Yeah. Let me answer that quick. So, like, if a pedophile goes on some platform and they say, I'm attracted to kids. I really wish I wasn't. I wish I could change it. We need to bring more attention to the fact.
No, they're not doing that. No. Let's say they're not doing that.
Well,
because most pedophiles, once again, are mentally ill, right? So they're not going to sit here and say, I know I'm wrong. I'm sorry, I know I'm wrong. What do trans people do? They're mentally ill.
Plenty of people do that.
They go all out.
Yeah, we know most pedophiles actually do say, like, they don't want to harm kids. Like, they still understand, just like I like women and I like blondes, that doesn't mean I want to rape blondes. I'm not lying when I say that.
They're lying.
Well, we can access the contents of their mind, Dalton, so it's just really...
I can tell you right now that they're lying. Yeah, I can. I'm always right, so I can.
I appreciate that Dalton's actually engaging with the arguments. I wanted to know, is Neo going?
Most pedophiles, and for the person who said that, most pedophiles, like, realize there's something wrong with them and they want to change. What the heck is NAMBLA then, where they literally spend all the time trying to legitimize and get people to accept their disgusting behavior?
Yeah,
why does Big Mouth exist? Why does Big Mouth exist if that happens?
You guys are talking about small, like, groups of people. Like, you're not talking about large amounts of people.
It's small, Goyim. It's small. Yeah, bullshit.
Small NAMBLA?
Yes.
Look, I've already said if you're advocating for behavior, which is like harming kids or abusing kids, then that is wrong. It's the behavior aspect of it. It's not the characteristic of being a pedophile. I don't know how many times I need to say this.
It's bad, though, right?
advocating for harming kids is bad. I feel comfortable saying that. Yeah.
No. Pedophilia is
Thinking
bad,
about harming kids is bad.
No, having the
Pedophilia is bad.
characteristic of pedophilia is not bad. No.
Yes, it is. Yes,
Yes, it
bro.
is.
It literally means you're genetically defunct, and it means you need to get one in the back of the fucking head and tossed into a bog.
Okay,
That's what it
all
is.
right.
This
So
isn't-
hold on.
this
That's
isn't
where I want to go.
polio, This isn't autism.
That's where I want
This
to
is a condition where children are actually harmed.
Okay.
It means
This
into
is
the
a
fucking oven you
degree
go.
of difference.
Okay, so this is where I wanted to jump in. Okay, so for me, like, I would want some sort of autonomy from the person to where they're actually making a conscious decision to do something, for me to blame them for it, right? So if I have like autism, right? Like, that's a good example. Like, if I got autism, I didn't have a choice in that, right? I don't have a choice in having some sort of mental disorder. Just like with pedophilia, you don't have a choice in having that mental disorder. It's something that just
Autism
happens
is not
to you.
sticking a dick in a 6-year-old.
I understand. Hold on. You're not engaging with what I said. Hold on. You're not engaging with what I said. You're not engaging with what I said. What I said is, in order
Because
to
you're
say
subversive.
that, well, if you would engage with anything that I'm saying, maybe you could prove that
If
at
I
some
engage
point.
with anything you say, I accept your subversion.
Then
If
why are
can't
you
handle
here,
the
bro?
conversation, You don't have to be here.
Yeah, why are you here if
Well, I'm
you're not
here to
smart
let you
enough
dig
to
your own
engage?
grave. That's why I'm here.
But
'cause
you're
it's
not.
entertaining.
You're making us look good. Even people in
You
my
know,
chat who,
bro. You guys-
even people in
you
my
guys
chat
do
who
this for a
disagree
living,
with me
pedophile, dude.
are upset that you guys can't engage with anything that I'm saying.
Oh, why are we upset? I wonder why. Why are we
Because
upset?
you guys can't engage with anything that I'm saying. Okay, so let me
It's because
actually
you're
get
advocating for pedophilia.
let me
That's
actually
why
get
we're
through my
upset.
argument.
We'll go to Tom.
Yeah.
And then who was talking before? Was that Reich? We'll go Tom,
Yes.
Reich, then Amder.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So in order for me to condemn somebody, I would want them to have some sort of decision in that process, right? Like, I want them to actually have the ability to make a choice. So if somebody comes up behind me and shoves me into the person in front of me, it's not my fault that I fell into them. It's the person behind me, right? I don't feel as though I should take any blame in that scenario. If somebody has a mental disorder, I don't feel comfortable putting, and we can differ on this, and I would like to understand like where you guys verge off, because Mio explained his reason for diverging in that area. So I would want them to have some sort of decision in this process for me to actually condemn them. I don't feel comfortable condemning somebody just for their state of natural being.
Thinking of molesting kids and thinking of wanting to look at child porn is a natural state.
Yeah, no. Actually, what happens is they're molested as kids, and they go on to molest other kids.
That is
Same
like
thing with
a.
gays.
So what Tom the Fool just said? I'm
Is
not
it
gonna
their
criticize
fault that
people for
they-
their natural?
That they got
thinking.
molested? Is that what you're
Again,
asking me?
Yeah. Is it their fault
Well,
that they got
this is-
here's the
molested?
thing. Here's the thing. What
this
they're
is
gonna
actually
do
the
is
plan.
what they're gonna do is they're gonna go on to breed, and then they're gonna go on to rape their own kids and make more pedophiles. That's
Right.
what's gonna happen.
Yeah, no, I again, I'm
So how do
I'm
you
right
stop
there with
that?
you.
Well, you could. All right. Well, then how about this?
I have
We
a
sterilize-
prescription for how to fix this.
We sterilize all of them.
We do too.
Right? We sterilize them.
Okay, well, so I normally I would want to make it, because you would want to sterilize them, right? But you're not going to find out until they've harmed a child that they're a pedophile, right? I want to make it to where we don't walk around talking about sterilizing them, killing them, murdering them, torturing them, like those sorts of things, to where they're so terrified of coming forward and actually admitting that they have these predilections. I would want them.
So what you're saying is we sneak it in.
No. What I want
So
to
we
say
tell
is,
them that it's okay to talk about it, and then we round them all up and sterilize them. I like this.
no,
guy. This
so,
is good
so-
stuff.
close.
I'll just do
What I
that
would want to
fucking-
do is make it to
gas
where
chamber bit.
they know that we all come to understand that they can't help where they're at, and they are able to come forward and actually ask for help. And when they ask for help, then we're able to put things in place where
He's
they're not
right.
allowed to live near a school. They're not allowed to live near a school bus. They're not allowed to, or a bus stop. They're not allowed to, do all sorts of things. And we're able to actually protect society that way, because now we know who they are. And I want to help kids and actually do something that will stop them from getting molested. I don't want to wait until they get molested to do these sorts of things.
But don't you
And
think?
once we have have a comprehensive list of all of their genetic
Then we
bloodlines,
just freaking.
that's where Dalton.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. No.
Okay, I'm actually starting to like it.
I'm
I
not,
have
I'm not liking Tom the Fool whatsoever. We have measures already on the books legally to protect children from pedophiles, specifically because of their actions. Okay, not because pedo apologists like Tom the Fool here say, oh well, we need to, well, you know, it's just a natural thing, you know, and then all they're saying, oh, we shouldn't demonize them. No. Since it's ridiculous, you know.
He's not
here's the
gonna.
thing.
He's just gonna
I would
virtue
rather
signal.
have-
Just keep virtue
You hit the
signaling.
nail on the head.
Look,
Just keep virtue
the
signaling.
thing
bro.
is,
Here,
dude, it's like we've moved past. Like we all understand now that Tom's heart of Tom's argument is he wants to protect kids from pedophiles. He has a really strange roundabout idea of how to do it, and that's what we're here to discuss. He's not like intentionally trying to normalize pedophilia, even though our argument is that that's what it effectively does, and that's why his idea is.
And I would
Well,
like to
yeah,
hear
yeah,
that
well, that's the
argument
thing.
and how we get to that.
And I would like.
Hey,
you know,
Tom, I have a
I would
question
like.
for you.
I would like to hear how a person from NAMBLA is better than a not
Okay,
so
can I-
good person,
can I
but
ask Tom a
is
question?
Have
better-
any
is
of
better
us
somehow than
who
Patrick
defended
Casey.
NAMBLA? Who defended NAMBLA, bro?
No,
You're not going to
No,
argue
just-
against
no,
anybody,
the
bro.
argument
You're not
here
going to
is that
argue
we-
against
that
anybody. You're
that
just going to make up
pedophiles-
random people to argue
Your
against.
argument is that that platforming pedophiles is better than platforming ethno-nationalists. So I just asked you a question. Why is a person from NAMBLA better than a person like Patrick
That
Casey?
wasn't
Patrick
anybody's
Casey,
argument.
Okay, come on.
Here, Ron, let me-
Nobody
I'll
made
take
that
this.
argument.
So-
At the very
Tom,
least, Patrick Casey
Tom,
doesn't.
I got
Nobody
actually-
made that argument.
Hold on,
dude.
I'll address this one.
Tom.
So I already answered this question like 4 times. Is it net NFT? Anyways, so the way you describe people from NAMBLA, I have no idea what that organization is. The way you describe them, they actually advocate for harming kids.
You don't know what they are. Sure, you don't.
So that's what makes them bad. It's not the characteristic of being a pedophile. It's that they are advocating for harming kids. So I would condemn them for that specifically.
Oh, I got a question. here.
I find that hard to believe when you said you didn't even know that they existed. Come on,
Yeah,
seriously.
we're talking
Yeah,
about
everybody's
like,
heard of them.
natural-
I
I'm like you guys. I don't spend all my time looking up pedophile organizations on the internet.
This is a political.
No, I don't spend all my time defending them and saying that, you know, it's just genetic and we shouldn't demonize them.
That's a little sus, dude.
We
How
should
do you know
demonize
how
them.
some
We should
pedophile-
ostracize them and we should chase them out of the public sphere.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
look,
brave.
Just one
So
question,
brave.
one question.
Yeah,
Oh my
Tom, I got a
goodness.
question for you, Tom.
Wait, no, wait. Just let me ask one
My
question.
hero.
So, what do you think has a which one do you think is more likely to act on their whatever they're doing? Do you think a pedophile is going to be more likely, or somebody who just doesn't like black people is going to kill somebody? Who do you think is more likely to act on that stuff?
So you did stretch it there a bit. I was going to say, if you're just like
What do you
talking about
think-
some
which-
sort of
which is- do you think-
discrimination, if you're talking about some sort of discrimination, I would say the racist. But like if you're going to
Well, no,
say
no,
like
no,
kill
no,
somebody,
let's-
I would say probably the pedophile. I don't know.
Well, yeah. Well, here's the thing, right? Because I don't think that that any ethno-nationalist, especially in the spheres that I'm aware of, would like go out and like murder a bunch of black people. I just don't see that happening. And if
Yeah.
we're talking about something comparable, right,
Yeah, I got a
compared
question
to
in regards to
molesting a
that.
child, I'd say the closest thing you could get is to just murdering someone or murdering a child. Just murdering somebody actually. Would
Yeah,
probably
probably.
be, about the same,
Mhm.
if not worse. Or not, if not as bad. I think molesting a child is probably way worse than.
I think we can all
killing
agree
a grown man.
they're both up there.
I hope so.
Yeah, Tom, I got a question for you because you.
I'll say my
Can I
thought.
just
You know,
You
clear up
mentioned
a
that in
quick
terms
confusion?
of like a natural state, so it's like if they're just like inherently a pedophile, right? Like you're not going to judge them based on that. But I think we can all agree here that ethnocentrism, which literally just means like an in-group preference, it's like the oldest default form of tribalism on the planet, right? So like ethnocentrism, right? So if you got someone who's Mongolian and he says that he just wants planet, right? Ultimately to like marry a Mongolian woman who practices Tengriism right now, right? So there's like an ethno-cultural, ethno-spiritual element to that right here, and he would only rather be with a Mongolian woman that fits that preference, right? That's ethnocentrism, right? But obviously, like I know a lot of people in your circles would just default and call that racist no matter what. So,
Again,
like,
guys, I'm not a
that's
leftist.
like a natural.
I'm not on the
that
left.
is just kind of like a
Sure you
natural
are.
inborn
You're
preference. Like that is just like a
pretty
natural
close.
state of being. Like, do you think that that is like I don't know? Do you even agree with that, or do you think that that's like an evil position?
Well, so you started off by like conflating pretty hard by saying that in-group preference is the same as wanting an ethno-state, and those are nowhere near
Well,
the same
no, I
thing.
just said it's a natural inborn thing.
I agree
that
with
gets, that gets conflated, right? Because that's called ethnocentrism, but ethnocentrism gets conflated with like I'd say like 99.9% of every time someone on the left uses the word racist, like they're usually just referring to some form of ethnocentrism. So those two things get conflated.
Yeah,
right?
I agree with the
that's
premise.
a natural state of being, right? If that is
Yeah.
a natural state of being and it's still viewed as like racist,
Yeah, like a
I guess,
tribalistic.
then is that still like more problematic than a pedophile?
I think that being a tribalist is like definitely a natural thing. I think in-group preferences are probably a pretty natural predilection as well. So yeah, I don't think that those are necessarily wrong either.
Oh yeah, I just want to clarify from Brittany's question before I walked away. She asked about that, and I think there's a misunderstanding. So when I'm talking about the difference between characteristics and like advocacy of an ideology, that also extends to the ethno-nationalism. So somebody having the characteristic of an ethno-nationalist doesn't necessarily condemn them from being on public platforms if they're not advocating for that specific thing. They could be talking about something completely different. No. Like if you have an ethno-nationalist on an engineering podcast talking about engineering, I don't care. It's when you're advocating for the ideology of ethno-nationalism, which could lead to harm. That's when it becomes a bad thing.
What about just ethnocentrism, right? So if somebody is just saying like, hey, I'm not racist, I'm just actually ethnocentric because I only want to marry within this specific like ethno-cultural range. Like,
You're gonna have to give me like what they're advocating
because
for.
that's a natural ingrained thing. That's like the oldest default form of tribalism on the planet.
Well, hold
like
on, just to clarify,
So,
do you believe that it's like, are you just making like a personal statement, like it's fine if they're talking about whatever? Or are you saying like in reality,
Kai, I think your mic's off. I think you're on the wrong mic.
Yeah, you might be on the wrong. Maybe possibly, you might be on your camera mic.
Give me a second. It probably is my camera mic.
Yeah.
There we go. Is that any better?
Yeah, much better.
There you go.
Perfect. Okay. Well, yeah. So I was just asking, like, are you making like this a claim about yourself of like, oh well, to me, if they're talking about something else, it's totally fine, or are you saying like, well, in reality, if they're talking about something else, it's totally fine? Because in reality, I mean, you have somebody who's not even like an ethno-nationalist, like Nick Fuentes, who's simply a majoritarian, and he gets banned from Spotify for making a playlist. So I would at least say in reality that's not happening.
So
got banned.
what I was saying is that somebody could probably say that they're like attracted to a child and not get banned, but I think if they said I want to have sex with a child, they would almost definitely always get banned. And I know of people who said those sorts of things, like what they call like maps, I think is the word that they use, like those sorts of like advocate guys. Those people always
You've
get
been
banned.
arguing this point this whole time.
Person, you know what they stand for.
I don't sit around thinking about pedophiles all the time.
Bro.
You do have some weird takes though on this, Tom. I'm not gonna lie.
It's not weird.
It's not just weird,
except
takes,
for
it's
you
suspect
guys.
takes.
For the far right, it might be weird.
Tom, please, I gotta do it, man.
Yeah,
what
let's
was
go.
the porn thing? What was the porn thing again? Tell me.
The porn thing?
Regale us the story.
Oh, what I got banned on Twitch for?
Yes, please.
I was saying that we should have videos of pedophiles having sex with each other, and that I was pro pedo porn, meaning pedophiles having sex with each other.
Oh, so you're just a gross fuck. That's really all this is. You're just a gross, disgusting piece of shit.
No,
You're really just a gross, disgusting piece of shit, really?
Yeah.
Did you guys not hear the rape porn stuff earlier?
Is it going to be possible to have any kind of productive discussion here? Like,
no,
how about you shut the fuck up, you pedophilic apologist?
Yeah,
I don't think we can have a constructive conversation with pedophiles anyway.
Yeah,
none of us win?
None of us have said that we are attracted to children.
We're creating
none of us
more
have said
pornography. This is a win.
So, really quickly, because when I talked to Mr. Girl a little bit on Twitter, because I wanted to do a like where we had him on and had pop on Q&A so people can come and just ask him weird questions or whatever. And he was giving me shit, saying basically that our show was too toxic because we had so many anti-Semitic people. I'm like, that's where you fucking draw the line. Like, this guy was literally saying 11-year-olds are hot, but anti-Semitism, that was too far for him. So it's like he's basically admitting, I mean, I don't know. Like,
I think he's actually still butthurt from the anti-Semitic stuff said last night on the Ralph Retort. So I think that's
he's allowed on Twitch. Again, it's littered with children. Twitch is like all kids, and he's on every platform. He's like profiting off of this, and it really does feel like they're trying to normalize pedophilia in like a really disturbing way. And when people would talk about it before, I thought they were crazy, but like I feel a pee coming soon.
Unfortunately, they've also normalized, men that look like Mr. Girl and are overweight like Mr. Girl wearing skin-tight T-shirts. I don't know what's up with that, but this guy needs to lose some weight or get bigger T-shirts because that was the most appalling thing.
Saying like, "Hey kids, come play with me," type of shit. It's really creepy shirts on top of it.
He's also uncharismatic. Like he, the entire time, it's like he's moments away from just keeling over in his chair. And he's dead already.
So I want to say, first of all, that his issue with coming on the show probably has less to do with like some moral prescription as much as that he's just like personally offended because he's part Jewish. And
I'll be right back.
Second of all,
I'm personally offended that he's
hold on. No, Dalton, hold on. Let me finish. So second of all, for the people who are saying we can't have a productive discussion with pedophiles, if you're uncomfortable having this discussion, you don't have to be here. You're here voluntarily.
Wait, so you're a pedophile?
You keep telling us
you just admitted it. You just
so what I just did.
I thought I was having a conversation.
So what I just did is
nice Freudian slip there.
I quoted Reek. I quoted somebody. Can you please
I
follow what I'm saying? Jesus.
You definitely just said that if we're uncomfortable having a conversation with pedophiles, then we can just leave.
Because Reek
this is an imposter.
I said, can we please have a productive conversation? Reek said, I cannot have a productive conversation with pedophiles. I quoted him. I said, if he is uncomfortable with this conversation, he can
want me to have a productive conversation with you, but you can't even pronounce my name right. Can you read what the name says?
Can you have a productive conversation?
No, it's the text is too small. I don't know how to read. Sorry.
You have glasses on. Are you blind with glasses on?
Ankin's Reich or something.
This nigga needs,
it's so funny how the people like who the pedo apologists say, well, if you don't like it, you can leave. Why don't you leave? You're the guys who want to keep saying it.
Hold on, you have productive conversations.
You're uncomfortable to continue this conversation. Apparently, you are.
Can you have productive conversations with an ethno-nationalist, in your opinion, or is that like off the table?
I can have a productive conversation with anybody if they're willing to.
Especially children.
Okay, but you don't think that needs to be?
I just want to say something relating to the debate.
How is that the case?
Because of my last name, there are people online who just hate me and just because of my last name, and that's it. But you know what?
Goldberg.
I will debate those people. Okay, I will debate those people and argue with them, and I'll hopefully change their minds. Okay, I've seen people who were bigots and racists or ethno-nationalists walk away from that stuff. Okay, but the fact of the matter is that would I ever platform a pedo apologist or a pedophile on my YouTube or Twitch? Hell no, because it's a totally different thing. One is about the exploitation of children. The other is about bigotry because of a person's ethnic background. Okay. The one is worse than the other.
The other's not.
I'm really happy you feel that way, okay? But you're not interacting with anything that's been said in the last hour.
You look like
you're just saying the same things over and over and over and over again that we've addressed 1,000 times.
Look, let
me list out some of the things that you've said. Okay, hold on. It's genetic and it's innate and it's not. And we shouldn't demonize them. I'll take my so-called repetitive takes, and you didn't even present an argument. You just threw out an assertion. I'll take my
presented an argument.
Repetitive takes over your pedo apologeticism.
Okay, so real quick, all of us here agree that we don't want children to be molested. Like we're all on the same page.
I don't know.
For
anymore,
you to keep
you.
saying that over and over.
I really think you don't.
Hold on. Listen.
Tell him by the long-haired ginger. I don't know, man.
For all of us to agree on this one point, and you to keep saying it over and over, I don't like children being molested. It is just a virtue signal. You're not arguing against anybody. Nobody has said that they want children to be molested. If somebody makes that argument, we will all call on you and be like, oh, NFT's the freaking guy to come over and tell them how much he doesn't like children being molested. But until then, like, everybody has clapped. Everybody has patted you on the back. You're a real good guy. You don't like children being molested. How virtuous of you.
You don't like racists.
How did you learn to be so great? But like,
I'm
actually
unironically like that. Well,
oh, you know, it's not bad to say 11-year-old is hot. Oh,
I didn't say
pedophilia is genetic and innate.
I didn't
and
say
you
it.
know what?
You can't help but straw man, dude. You can't help but straw man.
I heard you say it. I'm throwing your stuff right back to you, Tom Fool.
I will stand by anything that I said.
You can't stand by it.
You mentioning my actual name like as though it's an own when it's literally like it says it right here. It's not an own. I literally it's not. Oh, so good. Such a burn, man. I said his freaking name.
Dalton,
Well
Dalton,
done.
hold on. We'll let Dalton get in there. So go ahead, Dalton.
Let me jump in too.
No, hang on,
Dalton,
Kai. I think you'll like where this is going. Amdir, do you think that consent can occur between an adult and a child?
No.
Okay. So how old is a child to you?
I think that the age that the state sets it at is the best one. I can tell you what my like reasoning for that is if you want.
Okay, so what about your state? How old is it set?
I live in the U.S. It's 18.
Well, the age of consent in states varies around 16 and 17.
And
I think 18 is good.
So 18 is when. Okay, I can agree with you there. All right, I was just making sure because I don't think you do.
Go ahead, Kai.
I don't need you to theorize about the contents of my mind.
Seriously,
please.
you guys don't look good making up stuff.
We're theorizing.
Oh, yeah,
we're gonna theorize.
Shut up,
There's
Kai.
a lot
I
of
was gonna talk now because that's what's happening.
Well, see, I'm in an interesting position because I think that Tom Foolery is actually partly correct. In fact, actually largely correct. And a lot of right-wingers don't realize this, and I think it's mostly from the libertarian camp. The whole, like, I don't like pedophiles, like, kill all pedophiles, throw them in wood choppers, whatever. I think that's largely virtue signaling because, I mean, you're kind of right. Like, I don't think anybody on this panel, at least I'd like to imagine that not anybody on this panel is really in support of pedophilia. Obviously, there's some people who are more apologetic of it than others. But I think this whole like, oh, yeah, I'm going to kill all the pedophiles. You know, I think this is a kind of, major reaction from a lot of people on the right that is only coming about because they've ceded ground on every single other moral problem, right? So the right wingers can no longer say anything about gay marriage. They can no longer say anything about miscegenation. We can't say anything about anything anymore. So the one thing that everybody else and us can agree on, the one thing we can be radical on is like, yeah, I don't like pedophiles. It's like, well, it's kind of the bare minimum, right? Like, we are not willing to talk about, gay marriage. So we're going to be really radical about our opposition to pedophiles. And honestly, I think it's a bit of a cope, and we should spend the energy that we take, posturing about pedophilia, which is really honestly, well, actually, I don't know. I was going to say it's not that big of an issue as far as prevalency, but with how much our government does and the people within it and how evil they are and all the
we did just find out about a pedo island.
Prevalent.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I think it is more prevalent than we think. But really, I think that it is largely a virtue signal, and right-wingers should spend more time focusing on taking back the stuff about sexual revolution. We can talk about throwing, rapists and pedophiles and wood chippers any day of the week, but it's a lot more controversial for us to say that we oppose gay marriage. And that's why I think, the whole thing is really more of a virtue signal. So Tom Foolery, I think you're actually right.
I want to say real quick, I don't like, we're not going to, I don't think that there's a way for us to compare racism and pedophilia. I think they're almost like apples and oranges, and we're just talking about like levels to morality. But if you guys were sitting here arguing like, hey, I think one could be racist and it wouldn't be as bad as pedophilia and blah blah blah, I wouldn't be sitting here like, well, I don't like racism. I don't like it if people go try to kill all the black people. I don't like that. I wouldn't do that. I would just
Mr.
listen.
Girl on the left, though. There's a difference here.
I don't
Brittany,
think. I
you
also
don't-
Kai.
I want to go back.
racism.
Go
It's
back
such a
to what
loaded
Kai
word.
said earlier about like this being a so-called libertarian cope. Come on, the libertarians are literally arguing that the age of consent be lowered. Okay, look at that like libertarian socialist like Creepo Vosh. Okay, who said that he wants to lower the age of consent. Okay, so that's not a low. It's not a response. Oh, this is just the more libertarian wing of the Republicans. Getting all copy or things like that. No, it's a real response to people who are actually doing what Tom the Fool and Omdir are doing. Is essentially saying that no, it's innate. It's part of their biology or their genetics. And what they're doing is they're slowly slipping in the idea that because it's innate, therefore we have to accept it and learn to think that, you know what, it's really not that
Same
bad.
thing
And then
they did.
normalize it.
Hang on, same thing they did.
I don't
really
think
quick.
it's
It's the
innate.
same thing they did 30 years ago when it comes down to fags, right? They normalized gay marriage. They normalized. First, it started out with it being, well, people are just born this way. If your son comes out to you, you need to be like, oh yeah, I accept you for who you are. Blah, all that bullshit. And then it developed into something else, which was gay marriage. And now we have gay marriage, and there's gay pride parades and all this other gay shit going on. This is the start of a complete normalization of pedophilia in this country. So I think that if we missed our shot with the whole with fags being able to fucking marry, I hope that we can reverse it. But as of right now, we missed our shot. Now it's our time to be like, all right, you're definitely not getting away with this shit and the trans shit. I think we still have a good shot with the trans shit.
Yeah, and
All right,
and
so
Dalton,
I
I think.
just-
Well,
I
hold on.
just wanna say to the
I was
audience
addressed.
here
I was
that
addressed. I
don't-
want
I just
to
wanna
say
say
something. I want to say
Guys,
something.
what he said with the F word, okay?
Kai's gonna go. Go ahead.
Yeah, so and that's just because I was addressed. So I think a lot of people are kind of misunderstanding this. Like, don't get me wrong, what Dalton is saying is 100% correct. You're not going to find me defending pedophilia, right? Like, but that's kind of the point, right? Is that especially among right-wing circles, I'm not talking about actual child pornography apologists like Vosh and Mr. Girl and others, right? Like the people on this panel supposedly. I'm not going to defend any of that. What I'm talking about is like libertarian right-wingers or other conservatives, right? Because within those circles, you'll find people on these like right-wing Instagrams with thousands of followers posting like, "Yeah, I'm gonna like kill the pedophiles," and it's like awesome, but like, what do we do? What do we disagree on here? And so I think a lot of it really is posturing, and I think a lot of the energy that goes into that would be a lot better spent actually, arguing things that are more controversial right now. Because again, I'm not saying that nobody on the left is a pedo apologist. Like I think it's a very widespread issue, and it's something that we're seeing popularized with cuties, with Mr. Girl, and with even people on this panel. I'm not saying that's not happening. I'm not saying we shouldn't do anything about it. I'm just saying that I think within circles that 100% agree with you, it really does come across as a virtue signal because we have lost ground on a lot of the other issues. So I'm not saying that we need to change our position on this issue. I'm not saying we need to be more lenient of pedophiles. I'm saying we need to be less lenient of all the things that happened before and maybe spend more time talking about those as well. That was basically the thesis of it.
Yeah, one thing I'm a little bit curious about is kind of how consistent the right wingers on this panel are with the comparisons to like homosexual stuff. So like, do you think that the homosexual attraction is wrong, or do you think that gay sex is wrong? Can anyone answer that question?
Both. They're wrong.
Really? You really think thought? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wait. What's the question? I missed it.
I'm just gonna.
Wait. I missed the question.
I was just testing consistency. I was asking, is it when you're making these comparisons to like homosexual stuff, is it the attraction to the same sex that's wrong in your eyes, or is it the gay sex itself?
Okay. I'm gonna have a nuanced take. People are gonna get mad at Kai again. People are gonna get mad at Kai again.
No.
So if we're looking in inconsistency, like there's different.
I can't hear Kai.
NFT.
Yeah. So there's different ways that we tackle this, right? There's the religious perspective, and then there's the perspective of like society, right? Or at least that's the way that I'll divide up this conversation. So if we're looking at religious text, what does it tell us, or what does religious text, the Bible, tell us is sinful? It tells us that same-sex acts, sodomy, is immoral and is evil, right? And you'll get punished for it. The Bible does not make so much a claim about the attraction in and of itself. And I hold the position that same-sex attraction is a temptation, right? In so much as somebody could be tempted to, cheat on their spouse, or tempted to, become an alcoholic, or do any of these things. It's a desire that they have, which comes from their fallen state and from the temptations of the devil, which they need to do their best and need to be helped in avoiding. And that, I think, is the way that we should look at this. People have this temptation which they should resist, and which people should help them resist. I do, however, believe that the Bible is very clear, and same-sex acts are absolutely immoral. The next part of the question is about what we do in society. And I don't believe that same-sex attraction should be something that's normalized, popularized, or accepted within, the public space. Because what does the identification around your attraction manifest in? Well, obviously, the displays of that attraction. And this is the innate problem that a lot of, these mainstream right-wingers are not getting. There is no identification of the LGBTQ community that ends in anything but public displays of that sexual attraction, because their community is identified solely behind their sexuality. Straight people have never only identified around their sexuality, which is why, they have many other things and don't have, just straight pride parades. Obviously, there's a negative way that straight people perform their sexual acts. I mean, we see this in pornography all the time. But when we accept the identification or the existence of an LGBTQ community, we are in turn accepting the natural consequence of that, which is open displays of their identity through, sexual displays.
Yeah,
so
Kai,
that's my take on it.
I'm actually
I just
with
want to
you.
respond to that since I asked the question to him. So as far as the first part of that goes, applying that over to pedophilia, that's kind of exactly what my position on that is. Like, it's the characteristic of being a pedophile isn't what's bad, but if you go and act on that desire, like, that is bad. As far as the second part of what you said, I don't think I drew that distinction. I don't think that I ever said that we should be advocating for these behaviors. I just think that we should be able to address that this might be a characteristic that people have that we need to look at ways to address, rather than just every time saying we should shoot them all.
Well, again, that comes to the societal, consequence of it. Like when you start to say, oh, it's really it's natural, right? People start to tie natural to good. And I wish they did that more often. I wish you could tie the natural, the urge to procreate heterosexually and have a relationship. I wish they would tie the word good or the moral statement to the natural in the way natural law is defined by Augustine and by Aquinas. I wish they do that more often. But when you start to say that some of these attractions are innate, they're biological, they are something that's natural to people, you start to garner a sympathy for them. And the sympathy ultimately manifests in more prevalence over time. The sympathy and the understanding and the idea that, gay people are they're born with that and it's totally okay. That's the reason it's so prevalent right now. It's because it's become societally acceptable. There's no argument about that. The reason why all these people say, oh, did you know X and X, historical figure were gay? The reason they start saying that is because people were not publicly gay in the past. And that's kind of the point we're making. If you stigmatize the publicness of this, then you're kind of reducing the effects of it, or, the consequences of it. So that's my take on it.
I'm just going to say something for 15 seconds and let Tom go. So basically, I don't think that the recognition of this being an innate thing or even having sympathy for pedophiles necessitates this normalization. I'm going to point to for example, schizophrenia. It's a mental illness. We can have sympathy for these people, but we're going to find ways to help them. We're not going to normalize and say it's good to start being a schizophrenic person. That's a good character trait that people can have. No, we're going to look for ways to fix it. I don't think that that's a necessary part of what's going to happen as you're describing it. But
you're a cog in the machine.
The Constitution, I feel as though freedoms when it comes to the US and the way that I vote, it will differ a little bit. Some people like to translate that into I will be a patriot before I'm a Christian. I disagree with that, but I think that I think I can separate the two in some ways in the way that I want to act, but also appreciate the fact that America has a constitution that allows me to practice my religion and be who I want to be and have freedom of speech and all those other sorts of things. If you disagree, if you want to, like, I feel like if you want to start pushing your religious beliefs on other people, especially legally, we would have to then be completely against the Constitution. We would have to be against things like freedom of speech and want to be like make it illegal, for people to be blasphemous and there's so many things at that point that I feel like the slippery slope would be never ending to where we wouldn't be Americans anymore. And what I'm more afraid of also is that, like, if we start regulating those sorts of things through the government, that we'd actually probably be, as Christians, first on the chopping block. So
the interesting thing is, like, when we're looking at, this idea of like the freedoms versus these moral things, I think 27 states or more still have laws like against adultery, and the opposition to adultery comes from a pretty particularly religious place. In fact, Utah had a law against premarital sex up until only 3 years ago, which I wish we still had. Plenty of states had laws against gay marriage. Not a single founding father would have been in favor of it. And all the people that wrote the Constitution that you're pointing to would have, laughed in the face of the idea of gay marriage. So when we talk about this, like, well, we're religious, but we have this Constitution that gives us freedoms. It's like, well, there's a reason that the founding fathers who wrote in those freedoms didn't make, same-sex marriage.
They also would have
legal.
laughed at not having slavery, though. But we figure out
I disagree. Actually, I think
some of them.
I think,
some
more nuanced.
Yeah,
Well,
that's a little more nuanced.
You're right, but I feel like
Actually,
we
that's a good
realize
point.
our
Hang on,
values more and more.
Really quick, Tom.
Yeah, go ahead.
I do want to say to that point as well. This could also result, this whole rhetoric of trying to be accepting of pedophiles or trying to educate them or whatever the fuck it is you guys are saying. It could result in something, like I said before, being very similar to the pro-gay movement in America, right? Where eventually it goes up to the Supreme Court. A majority of states, it's illegal to marry same-sex or have same-sex marriage. But still, the Supreme Court overrode those states and federally made it legal. So I see that as a roadmap. This is a roadmap to normalizing pedophilia. Eventually, even though states are going to say, oh, no, pedophilia is illegal, whatever, blah, blah, blah. The federal court is going to, the Supreme Court is going to say, actually, it's just a sexuality. They can get married to 5-year-olds if they want.
Yeah, I hear you. I do. And I understand where that comes from. But I do know that, like, before gay marriage was legalized and normalized, we also thought that it was going to be more likely that men were going to be raping men and little boys, and that they were all going to be pedophiles and things like that. I remember this very clearly. Well, you can say that, but it doesn't seem to be the case or borne out in data.
They make up, what, 2% of the population, but commit like 40% of the molestation in this country?
No, that's not true. But anyways, what I was going to say.
I'm pretty sure that is.
If you want to send it to me, I'll believe you. Well, but real quick, I want
to go up to bat for this.
I can disprove that. I can just okay.
Real
I can
quick,
disprove exactly
hold on. I want to finish my point. At no point did we actually normalize or legalize raping people, right? And so I don't think that even with pedophilia, I understand the fear of these things being normalized. I completely understand that. And I personally don't think that's going to happen. And if somebody wanted to give me a logical trail that I could follow to where that would happen, I might be more willing to believe it. But I don't think that just because we say we want to normalize people being able to come forward so that we can get them help before they actually hurt children, that now we're going to say, okay, and now we're okay with rape. Like, I don't see that as part of that slippery slope.
Well, at one point,
no,
right?
No. So what Tom the Fool has done is said, oh, well, I don't want to get people who have this problem not the ability to come forward. No. There are resources for people who have these disgusting predilections to get help. There's such a thing as therapy if he hasn't learned. There's such a but what he's trying.
Right, I want them to get therapy.
Suggest is that no, I let you finish.
That's what I'm talking about.
Let me finish. I let you finish, Tom the Fool. Let me finish. What he's trying to suggest is that if we
Yeah,
don't
John,
give
fool.
pedophile apologists or pedos a platform, then we're essentially then saying, oh,
I
that
never
doesn't
said
mean they
give
get to
them a
comport. That's
platform.
what this argument is.
I never said
This
give them a
argument's about
platform.
whether it's better to give
Bro.
whether pedophiles should get a platform.
But I
over
never said give them a
ethno-nationalists
platform.
or vice versa.
I never said that,
And I
though.
just want to also fact check you a little bit, Tom
Yeah, go ahead.
Fool. Okay. The Virginia Criminal Sentencing Commission from 2001, now granted the data's a bit old, I'm hoping we can get some new stuff, found that the average pedophile, okay, has molested over 300 children in their lifetime. How many more children have to be molested?
No, the average
before
child
you get it through your
molester,
head?
not pedophile. The average child molester has averaged 20 per molester. Or somewhere.
You don't give a fuck about the semantics.
Hold on. What do you call somebody who molests a child?
A child molester.
No, you call them a pedophile.
No, you call somebody with a sexual attraction to prepubescent children a pedophile.
This is that rhetoric that I was talking about, by the way, that normalizes
Well,
this garbage.
I can understand that, but it's necessary for this type of conversation,
It's
right? We
subversive
have to
language.
separate.
I understand. I understand the language argument. Like I've listened to a
Cheers.
lot of like the Destiny Mr. Girl conversations. Like I've listened to a lot of that. I understand what you're trying to say, but and I understand the way you characterize, pedophilia as being uniquely attracted to the traits that make somebody young and whatnot. I understand that. There's also a part of pedophilia which is the ability to take advantage of somebody who is young, and that's one of the uniquely evil things about pedophilia is that you're taking advantage of somebody who really can't do anything about it. So if you molest a child because the child is easy to molest, yes, that that definitionally makes you a pedophile. And I think any argument to the contrary is kind of defeating the purpose, or rather is kind of undermining the power with which we use the word pedophile, right? I think it's important that we identify child molesters as pedophiles because of the guttural reaction that most people have to the word pedophile. It is better
In
if
common
more
parlance,
people
I agree
react
with you.
very negatively to the word pedophile when it's used on people who are child molesters, even if you disagree that technically they're not a pedophile, they're just a child molester. I mean, I wouldn't care less, right?
In common parlance,
you can-
I agree with you.
You can say that if you want, but like if we want to have a meaningful conversation, I guess if you're
What's this
uncomfortable.
whole meaningful? I'm having a meaningful conversation with you. What's this whole you
I
can say?
understand what you're saying. Can you let me finish before you jump on it? All I'm saying is like if you want to propose a different word that we can use that's less loaded in your mind to just say like attraction to prepubescent children, we can use that instead. That's fine.
Yeah, it's just for the sake of separating the two so that we can have the conversation. That's all it's necessary for. But in common parlance, normally if somebody says like, oh, this person sexually assaulted this child, so now they're a pedophile, I wouldn't be like, no, they're a child molester. We don't know if they have an attraction to them. I wouldn't say that, but like, yeah.
Yeah, well, and again, my argument is not necessarily about these definitions, more so about the utility of the word
I understand.
pedophile in describing all of these people, because all of them have, abominable. And by
I
the
think
way,
we all agree with
I
that.
kind of wish for this reality where nobody would identify as a pedophile or identify publicly as being minor attracted. I just wish we took better care of keeping minors safe. That's an easy way of doing it. If nobody came out, and again, this is why I brought up
I wouldn't use
homosexuality.
that term.
If people were not super if they were not super comfortable with coming out as this certain sexuality, as a minor attracted person, or as somebody who's gay or whatever, there would be less of a consequence for that in the real world. Which is why I would argue, prior to the to the whole popularization of the LGBTQ, there was less of a public kind of systemic.
I am on YouTube, so just I gotta just.
You can say faggot.
You can say.
What I was going to say, basically, and Dalton is right, is that now that this is kind of a public thing with the LGBT community, there are, these huge consequences. You have people like James Charles who are, grooming and paying men to, have sex with them. I was talking about this just on my show the other week. I get messages from gay men pretending to be women, trying to get me to send them nude photographs. And luckily, I'm a principled individual, and I'm not going to send nudes to some random girl on Instagram. But every single time, like without a flaw, I've had like 5 different times men pretending to be women have tried to get me to send them nude photos, right? And this is something that is pretty systemic within the gay community. It's because gay people don't like the fact, and I'm not saying this of all gay people, but many gay people don't like the fact that they are not going to be able to attract handsome, straight men. So they pretend to be women. Or you have a unique thing within the LGBT community. I was even talking to my leftist friends about this, where older gay men will prey on younger straight men or younger gay men saying, well, why don't you experiment with it? Why don't you do whatever? Well, if you're not publicly able, or if you're not comfortable with publicly calling yourself gay, and if that's not a step that you're even taking, a lot of these things would probably decrease tenfold. And that's a reason they weren't as prevalent when we hadn't normalized this kind of identification in the past.
Just to be clear, I wouldn't use minor attracted. What was it? Minor attracted person? Yeah, that one I wouldn't. I wouldn't use that term.
What would you use?
Yeah, well,
we would say pedophile.
Yeah, pedophile, because it is like a more as Kai said, it is like something that is I can't think of the word, like it's more like bombastic or like yeah, you get what I'm saying.
Well, it's just because minor attracted persons actually does like increase the normalization.
Right.
Of it.
Yeah. You want to use a term that doesn't. You want to use a term that doesn't normalize it. We agree that some people are normalizing it, and I would like fight against those people for sure.
When you're changing the language of what the definition of pedophilia means, how are we not supposed to suspect that you're trying to normalize it?
So the definitions that I'm using, I got from Google. And then I also sent you guys a couple of links that use those same definitions. I just found out recently that there was a difference between child molester and pedophile. I didn't know until like maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. So I'm in the same boat as you guys. I just like it for the sake of the conversation so that we can separate the two and actually make a distinction between which one we are talking about.
Okay,
yeah, regarding
why
the
do we need
boat,
to separate
if you and I were on the same boat, I'd jump off and take my chances with the sharks.
I think we can make this really easy.
I appreciate that.
Pedophile post or pre-offense. I think that's the way we should divvy it up.
That's fine, as long as we're making.
I just want to say something, because there's stuff going on right now. I don't agree with a couple of my fellow speakers. Okay, because look, they're LGBT conservatives. They're more than welcome in the conservative movement. And
what the fuck?
But listen up. This argument is not whether LGBT. This argument is diverting from whether pedophiles should get a platform versus ethno-nationalists. And the fact of the matter is this: I have no problem debating Jared Taylor. I've got no problem debating Richard Spencer. I've got no problem debating Nick Fuentes. I've got no problem debating Patrick Casey.
Freudian
I would debate them, even though I disagree with their ethno-nationalism, because I believe that in the discourse of ideas, people can change their minds. People can learn. Now, all of them know. But if I can
comes the virtue signal
and get them to change their mind on that, that would be great. But it's not the same as platforming a pedophile who says that exploiting children isn't really exploiting children. It's really a sexual attraction, and you should accept it. No, I never will. And those people should be ostracized, and they should be pushed to the peripheries.
Everybody clap. Everybody. He's doing so good. He's doing so good. So freaking good, man. He doesn't like pedophiles.
You want to act like a clown too? Okay, go ahead.
It's just more virtue signal.
This is the thing, is like everything you said, almost everything you distinctly agree with.
Pedophilia is bad. Brittany, I'm famous. Can I get an introduction, please?
Dingo is here, you guys.
What's up, Dingo?
Dingo.
Kai, dude, it's good to see you.
Good to see you too, man. How are you?
I see that you are publicly rejecting my request for a nude photo.
Yes. Are you all of the women? Are you all of these fake women, Dingo? Did you make 5 different accounts?
How did you find out they were not really women?
No, they were all gay men. Like every single one. They were very.
How did you find
skinny,
out?
Unattractive, like probably 18 or 19-year-old. Because this is the thing. I very openly reject them. I talked about this on my show, which all of you guys should go watch on cozy.tv/KaiClips. But all of them, actually it was funny. I said, no, thanks. I'm not really, into sending naked pictures of myself to strangers or receiving them. Thank you very much. And then they said, oh, it's okay. I'm a faggot anyways. And then showed a photo of themselves. And it was an 18 to 19-year-old skinny man who was trying to get new photos of me. This has happened twice on my Snapchat. This has happened, I think 3 times on Instagram. And every single time it's turned out to be a man. So I think this is a pretty systemic problem within the gay community.
You just have one of those faces.
I've been listening.
Go ahead.
Well, I mean, catfishing always
Sorry.
It's just worse now because it's happening to men and not just to women.
Shush your face for 2 seconds. Dingo's talking.
Oh my goodness, Brittany, you're making me blush. Oh my God, look at this pretty girl treating me like this. No, but I was listening to the show and I was kind of offended. I'm not gonna lie. I really think that the name change is good. We shouldn't be demonizing these people that molest children. We should be calling them by the proper name. And I also think that we should call rapists, which is a dirty word, we should call them unwilling woman attracted
Nobody
persons.
said this.
Right. And then robbers, we should call them previously owned purse attracted persons. Right. So like we have to make up these special little names for everybody who does disgusting, degenerate, and criminal things.
Nobody said
back in the 90s, people always called gay people the F slur. I won't try to get your channel show it here, but they called them the F slur. And then back in the 60s, go farther, people called blacks the N word. And I'm not saying we should. I'm just saying they did, right? Well, then whenever people like you, Tom, were like, hey, let's not call them mean names anymore. Well, the fucking shit ran rampant, and now we live in hell. So yeah, whenever you come around saying like, let's not call them pedophiles, blah, 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 I get deja vu.
You don't even know what I
what's gonna
said.
be running around rampant next?
You don't
Fucking
even know what I
pedophile.
said. You don't even know what I said, bro.
I heard you.
You didn't. You didn't even repeat what I
Don't
said.
believe your
Say
lying
it.
ears,
No,
dude.
say it. No, say it.
This is a typical
Say what I
strategy
said.
by Tom the Fool.
Because of people like you.
Deny he
Like,
said this and try to deflect is typical.
Say what I said. Then just say it.
You said, hi, my name's Tom, and I love sucking cock.
Yeah, see, that's what I thought. You guys can't argue against me. I'm glad that my brain is so freaking amazing
We're
that like
above
none of you
arguing
can
against
even
your
argue
pro-pedo
against me.
bullshit. That's what it is. We're above it.
I
We're
can
above
see
you.
that. You're
Fuck
so
off.
far up. I can see that. Well done.
I just might piss on your head. I'm so far up.
If you're a top, then that's good for you and Kai, I suppose.
Yeah, 'cause
So-
you're definitely a bottom.
Every time. No, look, man. What's up with always? I mean, Dingo. Dingo's like funny bit, like, haha, gay people. It's like we're laughing about gay people, but then like every single time with you people, every time it's like, oh, so like insert sexual reference, insert art. Does that mean you're sexually? It's like, no, I don't want any of that. That's gross. Like
he
top
literally
bottom BS. Like, I hate that.
he literally just made a sexual reference to me first. Why would you single me out on that?
Pee on you.
No.
That's not sexual.
That's very sexual. I don't know what porn you've been watching. I don't know what porn you guys been watching. That is very sexual. Okay.
It's like a dog pissing on a mailbox. It's like a dog pissing on a mailbox. I'm marking you as my big
Bro, I'm gonna have to
big
go to the
Dingo.
bathroom if you
Dingo,
don't stop.
Don't talk about pee anymore. He's bricked up. Dude.
Yeah.
So what
Golden
Dingo's
shower.
actually
He's so
Wait
bad
till
he
he
hates
just
it.
wait till he expands to poo. The
He's
Don't do it.
He's went from rape porn now to piss. Now, Lord knows what's next. He's going towards.
What Dingo is doing right here is actually making an analogy to how, not everybody that molests a kid is a pedophile. They might be doing it for power. Not everybody that pees on a head is doing it for sexual pleasure. They might be
What
doing
you're
it
doing is
for
being
power.
Mm.
That's the point Dingo is making.
Well done, Dingo.
Hey, get Jonah on here. This guy's a fucking noob. He can't handle it. He can't handle
No,
it.
actually,
Where's
no.
Jonah?
Let me 180 that on you, Amdir. What this is actually a fantastic example of is what it says about people depending on the way they take a certain thing. So if Tom Foolery sees peeing on you as, or getting pissed on as a sexual thing, that might say something about tomfoolery. If talking about pedophiles makes you understand it more so as like a very intelligent conversation to humanize them and to understand their difficulties, that might say something about you and your sympathies. Whereas we may take a different position. So I think that's what it's really saying in this conversation, more than it is indicative one way.
True.
So true.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I'll tell you what. The only good thing that pedos have ever done
Tom,
is bring
tell
droipers
them
and wignads
about
together.
robots,
And I
man.
fucking,
Yeah,
I can't
That's
complain
real.
about that.
Hey, hold on, why
That
did
is
you-
real.
Dingo, give me a
Dingo,
second.
we finally solved the infighting problem.
Tom,
Finally.
tell them about the robots.
Pedos and gays.
Kai
Who's
and
the
Dalton
robots?
and Dingo are dying to hear about the androids.
What
You
was
know
the
what
robot?
I already
You
know
know
about
about
it.
it.
Yeah, I
Android.
remember.
Oh,
I
the
hate
thing
robots.
Todd brought up.
Robots are evil.
All right, go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, so I think Brittany or Todd, one of them brought up that like people might want to have sex with robots that look underage. And I said if that helped them not have sex with actual children and save children from being molested, then that would be a good thing.
Wow.
Big
So
if.
check this out, yo. We
It's crazy.
build
I want
robots
to do
that
things
look
that
like 5-year-olds.
Yeah.
So
that are
But they're
sex
actually an outlet.
That's
They're actually an
and this is
electrical
going
outlet.
Oh, but it's not real, guys. It's not real.
It's not real.
It's just practice. It's just practice. They can just practice raping children. That'll be good for society, right? If we have a bunch of men
Isn't that the-
practicing child molestation,
Have you ever?
so they can hone their craft,
listen.
that'll help everybody.
Hold on, listen. I play Grand Theft Auto. Okay, I practice killing black people all the time. I don't actually go out and kill black people.
Oh my God.
I don't ever do it.
No, keep
I've
going,
never
keep
done
going,
it.
keep going, keep going.
So
This is great. This is good.
you guys
This
have
is
to
good. Keep going. No, keep going. Keep going.
You guys have to. Yeah. So
I refuse to share a platform with a racist.
Yeah. So
You
it doesn't
fucking
actually.
Nazi, you fucking Nazi piece of shit.
I know. So it doesn't actually like from what we understand in studies, like doing simulations doesn't actually make you more likely to commit an
Unless
act.
we're talking about
And
sexual stuff.
I'm not,
dude.
and I
Hold on.
haven't killed any
I
black
just wanna-
people, so I'm
I just
proof
want to
of
jump
that.
in after this.
But they are fucking 5-year-old robots.
No, they're
So,
not
hold on,
5-year-olds
Dingo,
old.
Let me respond to what
They're-
Dingo's
They don't
saying.
have an age.
You know what I mean?
No.
They don't have an age.
In the canon, she's technically 500 years old. She's technically a 500-year-old dragon, so it's actually not pedophilia. It's actually called ebophilia, actually.
They don't have an age. They're robots.
So okay, I'm
let
gonna
me
let
respond.
yeah, go ahead, Amder. You can.
Okay, so Dingo, I think that when Tom's saying that if they did this and it reduced them molesting children, he would be okay with it. I think that you can take from that if it increased raping children because they were practicing raping children, he'd probably be against it.
The big
You can
if
probably
at the
make that assumption.
beginning. Wow,
Look,
it's
listen,
amazing.
Listen, hang on, listen. I could do the same thing with your fucking if, right? Because you don't know what would happen. How about this?
I true.
What
I
if
agree.
we gave? Just listen to me.
Quiet,
Listen, just, hey, listen
said
to
that.
me, little guy. All right. What if we gave every pedo? Let's just give them one kid to fuck for the rest of their lives,
No.
and then they won't go out and make multiple victims.
No.
What if that would technically reduce the number of victims? But would you fucking really sign up for that, dude? Would
No.
you?
No, but there's a big
Okay,
difference.
so what the fuck are we talking
Okay,
about?
so
We're
there's
talking
a
about
the
sexual
problem.
urge here.
The problem with molesting a
No,
child
the problem
is that
you, Tom.
Thank
You're still breathing is
I
the
agree.
problem.
I
You
agree.
need to get the fuck out of my world. You're
I
breathing up
agree.
all my air. I don't like it.
Okay.
I don't want my kids to grow up
Okay,
in a
thank
world
you.
where
So,
people like
Rick,
you-
hold on. Okay,
Actually,
hold
I'm
on.
calling somebody a pedo.
I have an
Hold on.
interesting
Okay,
hypothetical.
hold
I have
on.
an
Hold on.
interesting
Let me
hypothetical
answer
about
what he
foolery.
just said.
All right, wait.
Let
We'll
me
go
answer
to
what he
Tom
said.
and then we'll go to Kai. All right.
Okay, sounds
Okay,
good.
so the problem with actually, and I know that this is news to you guys, so let me help you out and make you understand why there's a problem with molesting children. They are not able to consent, okay? So children can't consent, but robots don't need to consent. That's not so there's no such thing as a 5-year-old robot. If it makes you feel better, call it a 50-year-old robot that it just has some sort of genetic deficiency and it ends up looking like a 5-year-old. And now you'll feel comfortable with it consenting. But
he legitimately thinks he's smarter than us, and that really just pisses me the fuck off.
great
You're
argument,
a
man.
fucking idiot,
Great
dude.
argument.
You're an idiot.
Great argument.
You're an
You
idiot.
destroyed
Why-
me.
I just wish
You
you would've
destroyed me, man. Oh my
Why
goodness.
does Dingo need an
Oh,
argument,
man.
though? Like, do you
Is-
hear yourself?
Yes, I hear
Mr.
myself.
fucking robot.
I hear
Mr.
myself.
Child robot fuck.
You guys
And I
don't
want-
know
I have a
what's wrong.
legitimate-
You
I have a
don't know
legitimate
the
question
problem
now.
with
I have a legitimate
pedophilia.
question now.
We're gonna give Kai the floor really quick, so go ahead, Kai.
Good.
Yeah, so well, there's an interesting thing. This whole the robot's technically 50 or whatever. And it's a very interesting thing. You used to see this all the time, from Twitter, people well, actually, the cartoon I'm jacking off to isn't a child. It's actually 500 years old. It's like a dragon, or I think that the argument's really stupid. The point is that it's it resembles a child, looks like a child. These are the things that pedophiles are attracted to, is the childlike appearance. So I think that point is a little bit interesting. I did get a very interesting hypothetical. I actually pulled it from Dalton's chat. Very articulate, intelligent folks over there. And what and I just want to ask you, Tom Foolery. I don't know what your position was on like, the racist versus pedophile question, but would you be comfortable if somebody had a black robot and they were having it like pick cotton and they were like whipping it? Would you be comfortable with that because it's a robot?
My black robot.
Okay, that's just my answer.
I would like to butt break my black robot.
Reduces people being racist. Wonderful.
I have a legitimate question.
Hey, Kai. Have you seen the Tariq Nasheed documentary called Buck Breaking?
No, I haven't seen it yet. But if I just say real quick, that's like the funniest thing ever. That's the funniest thing ever on here.
He says that fucking white slave owners used to rape their black male slaves to teach them who's boss. Now, could I get a black slave robot and break that buck? Would that be okay with you? Fucking retard in the top left?
The thing is, the Omdir solution is like, well, if it decreases the amount of people who are racist, then let's do it. And I think it's so funny. I think it's so funny just to imagine, like this guy is like got his black slave robot who he's whipping and making pick cotton, and he buck breaks it too. But then he like sees a black person in real life, and he's like, you know what? I had my racism for today. We're cool. He like high fives him. I just think this is so funny, bro.
Am I gonna? Okay.
I gotta be.
There's two components to it. So there's if it doesn't have any harm in the action itself, and if it reduces the amount of harm happening, and you can draw a situation, say it's ridiculous. Someone's just gonna whip their robot and have their slave quota for the day. They're not gonna be racist anymore. Well, that's why I say it's a hypothetical. If this had this outcome, then it would be okay. If it didn't have that outcome, guess what? It wouldn't. You're just not engaging with what I'm saying.
You talk.
No, I just think it's hilarious. Like I think just like thinking about the world is a little bit funny. I think at the end of it, we have to choose a world that either normalizes the act or tries to force it into like the tiny corners and the cabinets and the closets that exist. And ultimately, that's kind of what I want to do. I don't want pedophiles to be open about that attraction, and I want it to be so highly stigmatized that they don't ever think about acting on it. I think the more effective way of stopping pedophilia is by actually just making it safe for children, right? Like keeping older men away from private situations with children, or making sure that doesn't happen. Maybe breaking or maybe putting a hand down on the grooming that happens within the gay community. Maybe we work at it that way instead of thinking, well, how can we help the pedophiles? Maybe we think about how can we save the children. So I think just from the beginning of the argument, we're just thinking the wrong way.
I don't know, Kai. That seems like a lot of work.
It's about protecting our children from moral degenerates and their apologists. Look, the fact of the matter is that when it comes to the idea that the thoughts or the ideas are not necessarily by themselves dangerous, that is just not the case. I just brought up the earlier statistic in which I told you guys, okay, from the Virginia Criminal Sentencing Commission, and I can bring up other facts if you'd like, that the average pedophile makes 300 children their victims. They molest around 300
You're going to have to send that
children.
to me. Send that to me. That's bullcrap.
So
yeah.
He wants to defend
That's
the numbers.
He believes pedophiles are way more moral than that, guy. What are you talking
He said 300, bro. That's literally impossible. They don't have 300
that was
victims.
ridiculous too. But
Nobody
then,
believes
I
that.
heard Milo Yiannopoulos. Like I thought the stats about gay people having sex with like hundreds of people was ridiculous. And then I actually talked to some gay people, and it's like it's actually legit numbers. Like
they
over
openly
hundreds of
brag
people.
about it. They openly brag about it.
Have you guys ever heard of a video called Standard Fuck Party? Have y'all ever heard of that?
Okay, I don't even know if I want to.
All right. Dingo destroyed.
That being said, but beforehand though, I do think that 300 is that's a really high number of kids being molested. I would hope that parents are better at keeping their kids away from these kind of situations. That seems really high.
I gotta head out.
800,000 kids go missing per year in the U.S. So doesn't that make sense though?
Dingo,
I got destroyed by
Tom will be
Dingo.
gone. We are completely unchained then.